there's ever been a series from Nintendo I always wanted to try out, it's none other than Pikmin. I even own Pikmin 1 and 3, so I'm not sure why I haven't played much of the series, besides one day at Pikmin 1. I ended up stopping because of the time limit, which is weird because Majora's Mask is my favorite Zelda game, but I digress. I always thought the idea and concept of controlling these many small alien creatures to do your bidding and start a war against everything in your path was fun. I also find the Pikmin super adorable. I even remember when I was in Japan when I was 17, I found this yellow Pikmin plush and I had to get it because it sure has seen some shit. I even mained Olimar back in Smash 4, so it's safe to say I was very familiar with Pikmin outside of the games. I just never got around to playing Pikmin much in my life. I do have a very early memory of playing Pikmin 2 at a demo kiosk in GameStop and just being confused. I really do think out of every fanbase or community, though, to ever exist, Pikmin fans seem to be the most wholesome and overall collected community, especially compared to the Animal Crossing community. It's why it's always so nice to see when we do get anything Pikmin related, because the support for the series from this community is always sweet. You can really tell everyone is very passionate about the games and waiting still for that Pikmin 4. One thing I love about Pikmin, though, is just how unique it is. I never hear much about games trying to copy it, or when they do, they just never come close to its gameplay. Pikmin just has this charm to it that even if you're not a fan of the games, you still end up falling in love with it in some way. Even having one of its songs reach top 5 in music charts over in Japan, I also stand by if there's any series that can have product placements and get away with it, it's Pikmin. Especially since this is supposed to be Earth. It just feels natural to see a Duracell battery in the world. If you don't agree with me though, then hey, it could have been like this.
Hey, neighbor.
Are you?
Jake from State Farm.
Oh, you hang out here, bro?
Yeah, hey, right next to the course in your neighborhood.
Hey, that's dope, fam.
I'll be seeing you around, MP. Let me know if you need anything. And remember, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
I was waiting for you to say it, man. Hey, look, I appreciate this. Jake from State Farm.
Yeah, hey, listen, pleasure's all mine. Keep doing your thing.
While I've spent enough time gushing about Pikmin and what makes it so great, I think it's time to get my hands down and dirty by seeing what's so good about this series. By playing a PS2 Pikmin clone. This is The Adventures of Darwin. It's Pikmin, but with monkeys. I promise one day, guys, I'll make a real Pikmin video, but for now, this is what you're getting. Well, what is The Adventures of Darwin? It's a game where you control this monkey named Darwin. You go around collecting resources for your new monkey village to survive and conquer. Over time, your goal is to make your monkey become a man. Evolution and his name being Darwin, this game is one big reference, don't you get it? This game is one I remember finding and playing for a little bit and liking it. I think it's time to see what this game is about. I will say this game isn't really as similar to Pikmin as you would think. It does have multiple units and using them to bring stuff back or knock things over while fighting things bigger than you, but that's kind of where the similarities end. While Pikmin focuses more on rebuilding your ship to escape at any means necessary, Darwin, on the other hand, has you trying to build and own the land you're on. Everything you bring back has a reason and purpose. Even prioritizing said materials over others can affect how your town is built. From how late or early some training grounds or weapons get unlocked, to what villagers' houses move in and what tips and tricks they know. Meaning, every time you set out, you should be planning what materials you want to bring back, and what is more important to your playstyle. I, however, just kind of brought back whatever I could find, and this did bite me in the ass later. I think now it's time to dive into my experience with this Pikmin clone game. And boy oh boy, is it a rocky one. I want to start this off by saying the early game of this is the most boring and mundane time I've had. I will say this game easily gets more interesting when trips can be more than just picking one or two things up and leaving. The starting area luckily does take into account you're worthless and have no real help, so there's an area at the start where some materials and food are around, and even a gold star to gain an extra monkey. You have 5 after getting the star at this point, but most things here take 2 monkeys to carry. Most of my starting time was just doing this and slowly unlocking things in the village. I would also level up my village, and because I brought back a lot of wood, I unlocked the wood house. These houses give you tips based on things you brought back, but in all honesty, they never really were that helpful. This was my playthrough for about an hour, just wandering around collecting stuff and grabbing whatever gold stars I could find till I was able to beat the boss for the area. This giant mammoth guy. Quick note, this is probably the only game where I prioritize attacking boosting items to help with some of the fights because, oh boy, this one is cheap. The issue with this guy is he's basically always attacking, and he attacks by dashing around. My only form of hitting him is getting close and swinging my hands, which has the worst range ever. Luckily, I can eat to refill my health and grab these red stars, so if I lose a monkey, it's not too bad. After doing this, I actually beat him on my first try, but it was super annoying. Once beaten, they drop a gold star and all your units are brought back. You then get the ability to knock down this wall if you have enough monkeys, which you should if you looked around for the gold stars. This will get you your first evolution item and evolve. You get the rock axe and turn into 8-man. This is how all the areas will go. You can explore more after attaining this new weapon since it allows you to break obstacles to make new paths. I will say, you'll probably just get a few more materials and some gold stars, but if you don't really care about doing this, then just go on to the next world. But with that being said, time to hit the next area, thanks to our rock axe. We break this rock and are able to finally head down to the depths of the earth. Just like before, we are doing the exact same thing. We're still getting materials, stars, and all that to grow our village and our troops. I really like this area though over the last one since it has a puzzle you have to solve to reach the boss. There's this ramp where rocks are coming down and not all the ramps will have areas to hide in. That's why you have a reason now to explore around to knock these things down to create safe spots for the ramp. Without this, it still is possible to make it to the boss, but you probably will be close to death by the time you do. Another thing that happened during this was we got the ability to use new weapons like a spear and a wood axe. The spears are very useful since they give your monkey more range to hit things that your pitiful axe or hands couldn't. The spears, however, suck for the second fight, and thanks to the horrible AI of the boss, I basically stun locked him and won. The next evil item we get is a rope, and we evolve into Neanderthals. With the help of the rope, we can now reach the next area. The Great River is pretty cool since the whole idea around the area is breaking the rocks that block your way so you can use the river to travel around, but the river also ends up being more annoying than needed. This is the first area where if you come here without learning the new formations, it's basically unbeatable. Without them, precise platforming and getting your troops around is useless. This, however, ended up being one of the few annoying worlds since I learned that if the game realizes your troops can't get to you, it will just kill them. Oh god, dude, they all fucking died. This wouldn't be so bad if the troops also weren't dumb and the formations actually kept you tightly together. Many times I would just end up trying to walk across stuff and have them fall off and die, meaning I then had to leave the stage to keep all the units but lose all progress, or leave through a safe hole and then go farm over and over for more just to come back here. This game also wants you to take it slow while putting enemies that will instantly knock you off for doing so, making you just trying to run usually safer. The boss for this world is also the most broken design-wise I've ever seen. I don't get why they made the boss like this, but they did. The issue with this boss is that half of the time you can't hit him, and the times you can are very small. You're supposed to trick him into diving into these whirlpools, which I think is a cool concept if it worked. He does get damaged for jumping into these, but the issue is after he does this, he ends up being too far out to hit after with any of your weapons. Legit making this option useless to do, and the damage from the pools isn't even that much to begin with. He also has this stupid bubble move which is hard to dodge and comes out fast. Almost every time you get hit, you will just fall into the water and have to regroup everyone to then carefully walk on the platform. This boss isn't really hard, just stupidly designed and takes forever to even do anything to him. I even remember when I had him at no health, he just wouldn't die. Well, the thing was, I did everything the game wanted me to do. So, like, the fact that I have a big enough army was just from playing the game normally. How are you not dead, dude? Just fucking die. Oh my god, dude. Just fucking die already. This is horseshit, dude. How is he not dead? Bro, dude, you cannot sit here. You cannot sit here and tell me this is programmed well. This is horseshit, dude. I refuse to believe you when you want to sit here and tell me this fight's programmed well. This is awful. you not dead? I don't understand. I ended up just skipping the boss at first to grab the item and evolve, which ended up being the better method apparently. We got the ladder and we evolved into Cro-Magnon. I think that's how you say it. I'm not gonna look it up. I'm sorry, I don't care. I did, however, go back and beat the boss, so don't worry, I did do it. The method the game wanted you to do, though, was ignore the boss and grab the item in evolution to then get the bow, which is a better spear. This would then allow you to hit him from everywhere, basically. The fact the game wanted you to just know to do this or somehow assume someone would do this is beyond me. The only hint the game did give you for this being an option was having the wall right next to the boss area. Which, again, you're probably not going to want to skip any of the bosses because you need them for gold stars. But maybe I'm the one who just didn't see that. Maybe this is very obvious to everyone else. But I'm going to say this wasn't obvious. I'm pretty sure it wasn't. The next area is Erupting Volcano, and I hate this area mostly because they thought, let's add nothing but really fast and hard-hitting enemies. This is also the most vertical stage so far, and can be quite confusing at times with all the random paths. This level also loves to put these guys everywhere, and the issue with them is if your people get hit by their powder attack, they're just gonna die. They can't get away, and it will just be hit till they die. It's really broken and so stupid to be hit by any of these guys because it's an instant restart. The level also introduces a key to get the actual evolution item. I don't get why this level and the next one are the only two that have this. It really doesn't make it harder or more rewarding to bring a key to unlock the next evolution item, especially since the keys are on the path you need to take anyways. You shouldn't ever reach the actual item chest without seeing these. One thing I do like that this game does is letting the first boss you fought be a basic enemy now. This is supposed to show you how far you've grown, since now a boss that you feared is just a basic enemy in your way. This, again, sadly stops being rewarding when you realize how cheap the first boss was, and I just end up keeping as much distance away from him and shooting stuff. One reason, though, why this level is harder versus the last one is because the game wants you to take advantage of the iron everywhere to make the iron tools. Which means grind more to make the game longer if you didn't grind for iron before. This is kind of dumb compared to the old levels. The old levels did have difficulty spikes, but I never felt like I needed to just halt progression and grind because the game continued to make grinding feel rewarding in those levels. And this stage, it's either forced to grind or deal with the whole level of enemies that stun lock you, and they can't be easily hit, or have massive fire attacks. Even this guy can spit fire? Why? At the end of the stage, there's a small little walking path with hot springs everywhere that also damage you when they activate, with the mini boss bird flying around. The spaces between the hot springs are so small, it's next to impossible to keep everyone together where you won't get hit. These springs do a ton of damage as well, so that also sucks. The boss also, at the end, ends up being way more cheap than the first one since he's constantly dashing around and does way more damage. If it wasn't for the fact how bad the T-Rex AIs are in the game, where they can only stay in a certain boundary, meaning because of that I can do this, I would have just gave up. The item for this is a torch, and we finally evolve into humans. The final area is known as the Unknown Continent. This has to be one of the worst areas I've seen in this game so far. Like the last area where they basically placed nothing but really hard enemies, they did the same thing here, but 10 times worse. Many enemies as before can stun lock you. There's the T-Rexes out the ass here, many tight walking path areas where these birds can just dive bomb you, areas where if you fall off you basically have to trek back through the whole level, areas that lead to dead ends, these hazards that you need the max out tools to even break, and then a boss rush at the end, but it's optional if you want to skip it. This level really tests your patience with the game. If you don't take it slow or haven't memorized the level path, you will have a horrible time with this level. Each run can take up to 30 minutes just killing enemies one by one, since that's the safest strat. You also need to have around 20 monkeys by the end to even get to the boss rush area. There's some red stars and gold stars, but when most enemies can kill more than one easily, you have to really plan the perfect run. I will give them credit, it really does feel like a final world, but the difficulty can be incredibly cheap. Many times near the end, I would have this stuff happen. Let's make a circle. No, I need a line, that's the only way. my god, stop. Don't knock him down. Don't knock him. This is fucking, like, it's stupid. It's stupid. I don't know what else to say. This is so fucking dumb. Alright, let's fucking walk across the whole thing again. Alright, they're just gonna die. Yep, nothing I can do. They're not, yep. And my friend who was watching me kept telling me I was rushing and needed to take it slow, which, again, the game actively punishes you for doing so when it comes to these bird enemies. Then again, he is the one who told me this boss was programmed well. So, thanks, Soshi. I finally kept pushing and kept going, and with all of that, I made it to the boss rush area, and so help me God, if you decide to do this area, I wish you luck. I'm pretty positive these bosses are optional, but you get gold stars for doing them, so they're worth it. The issue being is these bosses are mostly like the mammoth boss and never stop moving around and do insane amounts of damage. The goat and the bunny one being the two worst ones. Every enemy in these areas also charge at you and do a lot of damage. Even with an item that boosted my attack, it still was way harder than needed. The other two bosses were actually not that bad at all. The crocodile was just a cakewalk since he's slow and half of the time he just let me hit him. The plant boss was honestly my favorite boss in the whole game. This boss actually felt rewarding and fun to fight. You constantly have to be maneuvering around to dodge his fireball attacks but never get too close. It felt fair if I got hit because I was standing for too long and not observing the boss's attacks well enough. It's quite sad this is the only boss I have any praise for, but that is this game. Once all that is done, it's time to fight the final boss. The man, the creator, the all-powerful and knowing being, God himself. Or Zeus, but it's still God. It turns out he thinks you're selfish for eating meat and killing things. He decides he's going to reset the world for how selfish you're being. His motive is incredibly dumb. He's mad at us for killing and eating meat, while he made creatures that attack us and try to eat us. It just comes off as a weird atheist fanfiction for why God is bad. The boss is also the most spectacle boss out of the game, but it's actually pretty easy. I died one time though because he has this tornado attack that can stun lock you for a pretty long time, and occasionally he will just teleport over you without warning and do this lightning attack. The one way I could ever avoid this is if I already predicted he was going to teleport over to me. The lightning attack is pretty easy to avoid if he doesn't teleport over to you though. The fastest way to beat him is to stun lock him with the cannons. After enough damage is given, he turns into a demon form. My second time going against him, I killed him off screen with a cannon shot, so it just really shows how unimportant this second form is. I finally take him down, and Zeus decides to reward me for beating him by giving me the greatest gift known to every Texas person. A fucking gun. Then we see a thing that says 2,000 years later, and we killed everything thanks to our guns. Neat. Turns out, this game has two endings, and this was the bad ending. I still don't know how to get the good ending, but I think you have to find everything in the game to do it. The only difference in the good ending is you get a crown, and 2,000 years later, you're thriving. This game really isn't worth it to get either ending, to be honest. Well, I think it's that time to talk about what I like and hate about this game, starting with the good things. It's not much, but there are some good things. I, for one, think the characters and enemies in the environments look actually pretty nice. It's not amazing, but has a cute charm, especially the monkey models. My mom even joined my stream while playing this and even said the monkeys were cute, so they have something going for them. The music can be a hit or miss, but there's actually a few really good songs, especially the river song and the boss music. If you want to hear any of these songs, they sadly aren't on YouTube except for the boss music. I did think about uploading the OST like I did for Oningai, but I also am lazy, and every time I mass upload I lose subs, so maybe I won't do that. I do think the whole game revolving around building your town is neat to actually see it go from nothing to a lot of houses and shops. This does make the start of the game very slow and boring, but it helps the middle and later feel more rewarding. What's even cooler is at the start, your people talk in broken English, but once they're humans, they talk with perfect English. It really shows the growth of your village and its people because of this. Well, time to talk about the things that I hate about this game. This game's AI, both your units and the enemies, are just awful. A good example is fighting things. You legit have to spam the attack button because if you don't, the AI will just sometimes forget that they're attacking anything and stop. Sometimes they just won't attack at all while you spam it, so I guess it really doesn't matter. You can be right next to an enemy with all your units and sometimes only like 2 or 5 will attack at once. This happens so often and can make fights drag on because your units are just refusing to do anything. Spamming also means listening to this the whole time. Formations also can increase your attack or your defense by what formation you're in, but for the most part, I could never see a difference, mostly again because not all my units ever wanted to do anything. The AI for the enemies is kind of a gift for being so bad since it makes dealing with some of them so much easier. Occasionally, enemies will just stop doing anything and stand there to let you beat them up as if the AI forgot you were there. The T-Rexes are the best example, but again, I feel this was intentional. I feel if they didn't have this on the T-Rexes, they could easily chase you across the whole map since they're the most aggressive enemies in the game. The fact that so many things can just stun lock you in the game and kill the majority of your units is soul crushing and cheap. Even with the best weapons, if your units ever get caught in these, you might as well restart since a lot of the attacks can just put them to sleep, which lasts forever. The bosses are just horrible and cheap to the point I never felt rewarded except for the plant boss for fighting them. It's just not fun to frantically try to kill something that never stops moving and can just dash around with no real wind-up. The third boss again being the best example for how dumb these fights are since the game wanted you to ignore it and come back to it later to beat it the intended way. The houses and stuff in the village are usually pretty useless since a lot of the tips they give is just bring more of said resource. Making a lot of the time, I just stopped caring to check on any of these new houses since it was going to be the same tips and tricks that they always tell you. Just bring more of that resource, or you can do this with that resource. The last thing I hate about this game is the fact the game wants you to take things slow and take your time with it and gather resources, but it makes doing so tedious and actually can ruin a run because you decided to take it slow. One thing the game does I think is nice is having these things scattered around the levels. They're basically safe holes. It's a way to save your resources and progress in the level and get back to the village really fast. This can be useful if you did a lot of things and don't want to lose your progress. The issue with these is once you go through it, that's it. You can't fast travel back to the cave you used and have to retrek back to the level and do it all over again. It would have been nice if the game rewarded you for finding these as fast travel points, that way you felt rewarded for using these. These end up being pretty useless for the last 2 worlds since those require so much time to trek through the stage and kill things, you're going to end up just not wanting to leave early and instead try to do everything at once if possible. Which then can lead to a lot of frustration when your units die and you have to make the choice to save my progress but spend up to 10 to 15 minutes entering and leaving levels to get all my units back if there's not enough at the bar, or restart the level entirely but keep all my units. The final world has one right outside the boss area, and I'm sure the intent was every boss fight you do, you can go to the cave and save your progress and come back, but if that's what the devs wanted you to do, then you were easily looking at trekking through this world 5 times, and that's if you never made any mistakes. I do like the option of pushing your luck and risk dying or play it safe and save but then spend more time backtracking, but man, it becomes where it starts to feel like padding instead of rewarding skilled players. There's just again a lot of issues with this game, but by no means is this the worst game I've ever played. In fact, it's a fun trek if you can just ignore these issues, but I, however, can't really ignore them all the time. Well, maybe in the next video I'll do an actual Pikmin video for you guys. Or I can keep playing these clone games instead. I think that's a better option.
This is what?
Look, homeboy, you'll play when my turn's over.
But you've been playing for 62 years.
Now you can play Nintendo 64 longer than ever. With Fruit by the Foot's new game tips, 90 tips to help you reach new levels and beyond. And 64 game tips from Fruit by the Foot. Your games go on and on and on.
Bob, you're killing me.
Bomberman, mass destruction across the land. Makes a bomb any size, and he's yours to customize. Oh yeah, your very own Bomberman. Cross his path, you'll explode in the brand new adventure mode. Shoot the levels to explore on Nintendo 64. Look out, it's the new Bomberman.
Yeah, hello everyone. Yeah, we're here today at Pika, where multiple homicides, rapes, all the bad things you can think of here. Basically the black sheep of San Antonio. So much shit has happened here. So we're here now to investigate the place called Anime Pizzeria and what happened and find out for ourselves. So right now we're gonna ask around, find some people. So hopefully we can find some people walking around. You sir, tell me what you know about Anime Pizzeria.
You have absolutely ruined my day. I'm going to throw my car into neutral and let it roll over me.
There
Fuck
you have.
you.
Oh. There you have it. That guy was kind of fucking rude. One thing I love doing for my videos is making them as personal to me as I can and provide a unique experience to each one. Even if the whole video can't be original, I want something to be gained, even if it's small or big. Today, mostly because this is a local place in my town, or I should say was. As far as I'm aware, there's no videos of this place at all, and even people who I know live here basically never went and ate there. Unfortunately, there is not a lot of history that has been archived regarding this legendary place, but as you saw from the intro, this business had some dark history. And today, I want to unravel the history of this once fabled restaurant known September 3rd, 2015. This was posted to the page of the Anime Pizzeria. The profile pic and the iconic anime character known as Pizza Chris Chan, not his name but it's my canon name, was shown to the world. It looks like every anime character you see on those how to draw anime books, but hey, I used to draw shit like this, so I have no room to talk. But I would draw Sonic characters, and I would draw Chow's a lot. And I think the most cringy shit I ever drew was like cupcakes with like Sonic hair, and that was like the most cringe shit ever. At the time, this was our first glimpse into the theming and lore of the Anime Pizzeria. What more was to come and offer? Who knows? But I do know is, I sure am ready. On the same day it was announced they were ready for the grand opening. They even included some pictures showing some of our favorite anime characters. We have Sonya Ripoff, Believe It Kid, and fucking Deadpool. Overall, the theming was giving me emo middle school room vibes. September 6th, we got more look at the food and everyone's favorite anime dad. The pizza here, though, did look to be worse quality than the other pictures, but maybe a bad batch, I'm not really sure. September 11th is now here, and we see this post. Tomorrow, the grand opening of our new exciting anime is airing, and it's going to be big with deals for the first customers who show up, and they even held a Facebook contest to take pics and stuff and win a pizza. But I can't find anything about this or how they kept track of the pictures, so let's assume it never happened. Well, the moment you've all been waiting for, September 12th is here, and oh boy, the internet had a field day with this one. This picture was posted to show the first customers, and like that, a fire had started. The Anime Pizzeria wasn't ready for what the internet had in store. This picture blew up, and I mean for a page just started, this was big, and as of today has over 3K shares. People memed hard on this, leaving comments like this, even giving canon names to the characters such as Elliot Rogers and Fat Quinn. These are not my names, just some things I saw, don't get mad at me. For the first customers, it's basically what you would have expected, especially during this time. This was back when anime still wasn't accepted as much as it is now, and even now it's still weird to a lot of people.
I am her maid. She's a vampire. We live in a very fancy mansion.
It didn't help when this was the era when Filthy Frank was booming and anime hatred from him was at an all-time high, pretty much explaining why people reacted this way. Luckily, our heroes wouldn't let that stop them and kept going with the page in the restaurant, but as more time passed and this picture was being shared around, trolls everywhere came to keep knocking our heroes down.
Hello everybody. A lot of people that do not live in the area or in Texas have been posting very negative comments on the page. Please stop. I started this page to help out the owner. If it continues, you're going to be blocked and reported. Secondly, the name. The owner named it Anime Pizzeria because the word anime comes from the word animation. Osamu Tezuka, the founding father of anime and manga, received a lot of his inspiration from Walt Disney's cartoons. We all grew up watching anime or cartoons, but the only difference between both words is the region. Children in Japan call it cartoons, we call it anime, so there is no need to be negative about such technicalities. So if we could please refrain from negative comments, we are doing our best. Thank you, and please do stop by someday soon. Smiley face. We would love to meet you all. Smiley face.
Now, for some context, if you don't know who Tezuka is, he's known as the father of anime with works like Kimba, Astro Boy, and lots of blackface. Lots and lots of blackface. I want to say, if you're ever getting hate as a business page, the last thing you ever want to do is address them in a post, because all that did was show you're seeing what they're saying and willing to give them the attention. Another thing, never say you will block or report someone, just do it. Saying it makes them do it more, and getting blocked or reported means nothing, especially on Facebook when you can get post blocked for anything and then make a new account like nothing. Not helping their case, they do show this gross ass food the same day, and I just fucking can't. This place, bro. Oh my god. Another post was made, and after a few days, they added something the store really needed. This shitty ass fucking TV, dude. This fucking store. It probably didn't help either that during this time, the page was getting review bombed to hell and back with reviews like this.
So I was at the crosswalk, right? And some C-word in the BMW honks at me. And I give her the double bird because it's a crosswalk, and I keep walking. I see a bum walking out of the woods with a pallet of wood on his head. He keeps walking and he vanishes into another part of the woods. I'm not exaggerating. He disappears like a Zelda reference I was supposed to pay attention to. While that happens, I'm listening to a podcast, and the podcast is about a wrestler named the Sandman and the Sabu. They are wrestling, and the Sandman took 2 hits of LSD before the match. And I'm listening to this podcast while this happened. At the time, they tell me he is on acid and he is screaming at Sabu that he's Godzilla. Which, that actually fucking happened, by the way. ECW for life. And as I'm listening to this, the bum vanishes and I don't see him anymore. No stuffed crust. 9 out of 11.
Food had sweat on it, and I'm almost sure everyone there was at least 70 kilograms overweight.
Me and good friend Seth went there. Upon chewing into our pizza, we found someone's pubic hair in my slice. And then I ordered some french fries, and there was what I think is tartar sauce on them. I am outraged. And he doesn't recommend Anime Pizzeria.
They jerked me off to Pokemon hentai, as requested.
Alright, this is gonna be hard. This one's my favorite. So Watashi wa, which means I, like me, was watching some sugoi, which means totally awesome, animes like Cory in the House and SpongeBob. But my stomach was all like, gah! And I said, Onaka suta, which means watashi wa hungry. So watashi wa wanted to tepite, which means eat pizza. So watashi wa came to Anime Pizza on Watashi no Boken, means adventure, and watashi no kokoro doki doki, which means my heart went doki doki, which means pitter power. Demo, but when Watashi wa went inside, Watashi wa not greeted with Iramishi. This dishonored Watashi, no feelings, and Watashi wa refused to indulge in filthy gaishin. Anime Pizzeria was Dakirai, which means big dislike. That was hard. I'm actually surprised I didn't laugh at that shit.
Some lady didn't recognize my LOTGH shit, and when I brought it up to her, she just looked confused. Probably because she only watches AOA and doesn't appreciate great anime. I ordered a Thundercats pizza, which isn't even an anime, and they brought me back what looked like a swastika. I was ridiculed. Pizza was moderate.
I came with my Rory Dekimakura and ordered a pizza for both of us. While we were eating, some guy wearing a fedora and a black trench coat tried to steal my waifu, and we engaged in a heated katana duel, with the waifu being the prize. And I was about to unleash my bankai, but the owner kicked us out for destroying half the store, and I lost my waifu. Overall, 9 out of 11, 1 star.
Went in, checked the establishment. No chicks with dicks. 1 star.
We finally reached the October season of this anime. Overall, the Facebook post is showing our pro tags getting in the Halloween spirit by putting fake webs everywhere and drawing things like Five Nights at Freddy's, R34, or Soul Eater Cat. Going back to this picture though, you see what's wrong with it. If you haven't, well, the I in anime is a sideways H. This is never explained. Like, I don't get what this was supposed to help with, and if anything, made the place seem worse than it probably was. To be honest, I don't know what the hell is going on in October, but the page becomes a mess of pointless shit like this post where they spelt wanted wrong, and then this. I'm sorry, but if you're trying to make your page not look like a joke, don't post pointless shit like this. They introduced the Thundercats pizza, which I don't think could actually be bought, and making this seems like a nightmare, and I'm sure if I went up there and ordered 10 of these, the place would be at a standstill, from how precise you have to be with this, and I'm sure this would have costed way more time just to get less toppings overall. It's a dumb idea, and again, doesn't even fit the anime theme, which this place already has an issue doing, since the place looks like, as I said before, a emo high schooler's room. This was the last post for October. Either posts were here and got deleted, or they just stopped posting till November 23rd, and then when they did post, it was a cover photo change. November 24th, they post a few pictures including their new deal/crossover, twice I might add, with Game Warriors. You end up getting a slice of pizza and a drink for $2.89. If you pay $3 more, you get a game pass that lets you play at Game Warriors for half an hour. Regular price for that amount of time was about $5. They also have this other deal. As much of a shit show this show has been, I feel this is actually the one good idea they ever had for the business. But yeah, here's some pictures of the place that they cross over with. November 27th gets us another pizza you can't buy, and boy does it look great. November 29th just shows us 2 random photos, one of the store and the other a very passive-aggressive sign. November really wasn't much to moving the plot forward and seemed like filler at best. I really am getting concerned for the sake of our heroes and their store. December is here and we get a post on the 6th with this cool drawing showing the prices. I know I made a small joke about this before, but I think it's neat when any store do things like this. So maybe finally Christmas will be their time to shine. We wouldn't see another post till February 4th of 2016. I'm gonna go on a limb here and say they probably deleted a lot of the posts because of the trolls. If that isn't the case, then Jesus Christ, they were just letting this page die. Here's a picture of a heart pizza with strawberries and 2 sodas for $13.99. To be honest, this looks fine, but strawberries just feel like a secondary thought to make it seem worth it. I don't think any pizza place could convince me to eat their fruit from them. May 8th comes around and chocolate strawberries seem to be normal items now that you can order, or maybe just for specials, I'm still not sure. These prices actually are good, it makes me wonder how they could have failed. But then I remember what the food looked like. The last and final post I could find is on August 9th, showing they had a buffet. After this, either the posts have been deleted or they never posted again. Now, you may be wondering, where are they now? They are closed permanently. I know, I'm just as sad as you are to see that our hero's just gone and their arcs come to an end so suddenly. But maybe it didn't have to be this way. Why did the pizzeria fail? What made it not worth visiting over other pizza places? Well, I'm here to find out. We arrived at Pika Pika Plaza, and overall, from first impressions, it's not the worst shopping place I've been to. They have a lot of weird bootleg items like this guy. I have the need for speed. Plus a bunch of anime or clothes stores. The biggest issue with this place is how everything is organized. I feel like I'm in a maze trying to navigate what parts I've been to and what parts I've yet to see. This place has cool stuff, but I was there for one reason and one reason only. To find out what could have caused the anime pizzeria to fail. I searched around what felt like forever until Anna told me she thinks she found the place. We walked to this small food court area to discover a pizza place had replaced the once infamous anime pizzeria. Seeing this pizza place sit where the great once stood is baffling. But then, an idea hit me. What if anime pizzeria was never gone, but instead renamed? I knew right then and there was only one way to find out. Hello, how much would one slice of pepperoni be? Yeah? Can we do that for the pepperoni? How long have you been, a year? What was open before? After hearing this news, my heart broke. I felt defeated. My journey had seemed to just stop in its tracks. A Chinese place was here before this pizza place, meaning no chance this lady or probably anyone who worked at this one would have any idea about the whereabouts of Anime Pizzeria and its people. I felt like I had wasted not only my time, but everyone who wanted answers' time. I failed to bring answers. I failed to provide anything about this place. What was the point of all this?
Ah! No, this isn't happening. There's no reason for me to go on. What? What am I fighting for?
I messaged my group chat telling them about how I was eating at the pizza place, but sadly, I couldn't provide any more new information. Feeling down and out of answers, I decided to eat my sorrows away with the pizza that this place makes. $5 for this. The pizza was okay. It's again a mall pizza, but looked 10 times better than anything Anime Pizzeria ever made. Anna and I gave it a 5 out of 10. Well, as I held my head in defeat, my friend Deja Vu had other plans. He ended up asking me if I had any leads on names or the people involved. I did actually have a name for the owner, though. A really long time ago, I talked about this on stream, and a good friend of mine told me every business has public records for the owner's names, and wouldn't you know it, in his chat messages was a link to the owner's name. I finally found a lead. Deja Vu and I were on the hunt to figure out if the owner had any accounts to message for questions or interviews. We ended up finding his Facebook and LinkedIn account, but the Facebook was our best bet as the LinkedIn account was basically abandoned. I decided messaging him was a good shot and sent it his way. We hoped he would read it and we could finally bring the answers you all have craved since the closing in 2016. Few days had passed, and I decided to check the messages I sent just to be met with a white check mark, meaning my messages never even got to him. We were sure at this point he had abandoned his Facebook as well, or just didn't even care to look at what I sent. I was ready to throw in the towel, but Deja Vu had an idea. Under the owner's name was a list of other names just not spelled out fully. If we wanted to see the full names, it was going to cost us a pretty penny. What the site did, though, was show some of the letters, and just from what we were shown, we ended up figuring out the name of the true owner. The person who's been running this whole operation behind the scenes, the one and only Abigail. Now, after the long journey, we need to look at how the business was run and what things they could have done to better succeed. Which, trust me, there's a lot of things they easily could have avoided doing. First off, let's cover their social media page. As you can clearly see, with what posts are left, we may have to give them the benefit of the doubt that the posts that they have removed gave this more structure. That being said, this is what I'm left with, and this is what I'm rating. The Facebook page seems so disorganized and again comes off as a teenager's Facebook page. Posts barely talk about the business or what they have to offer and instead chooses to give you wacky facts or weird clown pictures. At the end of the day, you want customers coming to your store, so why make posts that either could scare people off or don't help someone learn about your store? If I was wanting pizza and decided to check the page for info on the store, I can easily say this would have pushed me away big time. If they would have focused more on actually showing the pizza that could be bought instead of showing stuff not even on the menu, then I'm sure people would have taken this place more seriously. The other issue is the food pictures themselves. None of this looks good. It really never looked like something I actually want to eat at all. I used to eat gas station chicken sandwiches, so trust me, I've eaten garbage before and still wouldn't touch this shit. I'm not saying they need to fake the food like most places do with camera trickery, but for the love of God, get someone to at least take better pictures than this shit. The second issue, which I think is the most important, is the theming for the restaurant. For a place called Anime Pizzeria, it sure doesn't give that vibe off at all. This place just seems like a mishmash of random shit thrown together with the thought that otakus and nerds will like this. They easily could have kept a strong theme going and embraced the anime aesthetic, but instead at best you have random pictures of anime characters next to non-anime characters, giving a hard whiplash as Deadpool is next to Believe It Kid. The sign also being a sideways H for the eye just fucking kills me. I'm sure this was done to be quirky, but it just adds to the place feeling unorganized. I've seen many places have gimmicks with their signs, but the issue with doing that is if you don't do it well, then it really comes off as awful or even downright confusing. The constant making of pizzas not related to anime and then never delivering on promises of these being on the menu hurt this place badly. Why would you ever show products that you have no plan to sell or a way to streamline it to be able to sell them? I get it, if anything, they just wanted to show this cool pizza they made in their free time, but Jesus, man, don't post it on the actual business page. This has to be one of the worst theming places I've ever seen, and it really wouldn't have taken much to make it work. The third issue I also feel hurt this place a lot was just how the management ran it, or lack of. I really feel at the end of the day, the father/cook was just trying to do something for his daughter and give her an anime-themed place, or he wanted a pizza place and she convinced him anime-related would work, and he did it. If that is the case, that's sweet and all, but it felt at the end of the day a high schooler was running this business instead of an actual adult who apparently had many years of cooking under his belt. This becomes more apparent when the place got an interview and the actual owner didn't even do it. His daughter did.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Video Entertainment Analysis Group. My name is Josh. It's been a long time since our last video and I apologize for that. My guest here today wants to serve pizza to a very certain demographic in Texas, and of course I'm talking about the Anime Pizzeria in San Antonio, Texas. I'm here with Joe today. Couldn't give us our real name, but we're gonna call him Joe just for the sake of conversation. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm pretty good, pretty good.
I heard that Anime Pizzeria, the owner of the pizzeria, was a chef for 20 years. And he's been working for a cool catering company. And then he decided, you know what, I want to start my own business. So he decided to open up the Anime Pizzeria because me and my whole family, we're total geeks. Like, we grew up on watching Sailor Moon, Pokemon, basically the 90s cartoons. But the owner grew up on watching Thundercats and Transformers. Him, and his wife. So he had the mindset. And there's nothing like this here in the San Antonio area. So we had a chance. So when we had a chance, we basically went for it. Well, I wanted to do something like this. So you could say kinda yes, but we're putting our own, how could I say, Texas twist on it, because we called it anime pizzeria. Reason being, because one, yes, the owner is part Italian, and he's a very awesome chef. He could cook whatever food you could think of, but his specialty is Italian food.
Okay. I guess the reason why I sent you guys that message is because I saw a lot of backlash on Facebook and social media in general, kind of poking fun, leaving bad reviews. I think one of the reviews said he was raped at Anime Pizzeria. You guys don't rape people, right? I'm assuming.
No, we do not. We do not. We're located in an indoor flea market, so we're family friendly. Our customers love to come and enjoy our pizza. So no, all of that is false accusations.
Sure.
Well, I personally like Gundam Wing, Neon Genesis, but the owner, how could I say it? He's not quite sure because he doesn't watch. He watches some anime, but not like a lot, if you know what I mean. Because
Sure.
different otakus watch different kinds of anime. So yeah, he, is getting there.
Right. Are you guys doing any kind of special anime-themed pizzas or anime-themed dishes that or sides or anything like that? Like maybe drawing a Sasuke head with pepperoni or something? I don't know.
Yeah, we were talking about that because I'm pretty artistic, and I was telling the owner it'll be cool if we could do like a Ninja Turtle or the Mortal Kombat Symbol pizza. And he thought, you know what, that would be pretty awesome. So we're still experimenting with that one. We also have some other ideas, like we're working on a big pizza. We're gonna call it the Titan. So we're still planning a lot of the stuff, and a lot of our food, some of it's named after characters. Like we have one, the spaghetti. We call it the meatball head because of course Sailor Moon.
Sure.
Okay. And we also, our popular dish is called the Garfield's lasagna. It's a lasagna made from scratch. Our customers love it, and they like the fact that it's called Garfield's lasagna.
Yeah, that's pretty clever.
So they decided to come onto this channel and get an interview with them. And this has to be one of the worst interviews because not only did they not get the owner, they got his daughter who spent most of the time talking about herself and anime she liked. The things we did learn about the business was next to nothing, but we did learn some stuff. We learned in this interview our chef has been making Italian food for 20 years, and a lot of ideas they wanted to do but never followed through on. At the end of the day, I'm not certain if she was mostly running everything behind the scenes, but I'm not the only one who thinks this. This is one of the biggest fan theories in the community. Even other reviews on the page mention this as they suspected it. I think this though because mentioned in the interview, she even states the chef or owner barely watches anime and is getting into it because of her. She also is the one doing the interview. You think as an owner you would want yourself to do the interview because again, it's your store, you represent it. Why would you send your daughter, who I'm also sure was in high school at the time? What I'm sure happened here is the daughter wanted to start the place to basically meet like-minded anime fans like her, and the dad just said, yeah, I'll help you, let's do it. Or he was already going to do this, and she ended up convincing him to follow her ideas as stated before. I really feel her running the page and doing this interview hurt the business badly. From the posts and her actively talking about the hate comments and trolls and saying how they will report them, this is the number one rule for anyone making content or running anything. Don't feed into the trolls and give them any type of idea you're bothered by them. It's why this place was bombarded so bad from the picture because they actively let a high schooler run the social media and deal with this bombardment of harassment and bad reviews, which in return probably didn't help business. I do 100% agree the harassment and trolling wasn't needed, and writing reviews of people being raped was wrong. But the way they chose to throw a young girl to deal with it was the worst mistake they could have made. Finally, this is just something I want to address. People seem to think the name is what really killed this place, but I beg to differ. I don't really think the name is what caused this place to die by any means. Did the name help? No. Especially having the name in 2015-2016 at the peak of fuck anime trolls, I still would never say this killed it. There's just too many places with weird anime-related names and aesthetics that are still going strong for that to be the case. Some even existed during this time this place did. The name did set up some already pre-established ideas about this place, but they easily could have just countered all those ideas and proved them wrong, but instead, they went face first into every idea people had and proved what everyone already thought about this place. A cringe, unorganized mess of a pizza place. With that out of the way, though, our final part of the journey arrives. We decided to message Abigail for an interview since at this point she was active on her Twitter, and we figured this would be the easiest person for a response. We also knew it was her because we found a post of her talking about the pizza place, confirming our thoughts on if it was really her or not. Another good clue helping us realize if it was her was based on her art style for drawing, which hasn't changed much in 8 years, making it really easy to pinpoint on those two clues. I saw her messages for Twitter weren't open, so I did the next best way to reach her, and made this public post on Twitter tagging her. After this was made, all we could really do was wait. What felt like forever though, just a few days later, I got a response. Oh boy, was I ready. I checked my post to see if she said anything just to see this screen. Turns out she fucking blocked me for asking, meaning 6 years later, she's still mad about this pizza place. I ended up learning she's in her fucking 30s, meaning she wasn't even a high schooler as we thought, making the social media page look 10 times worse. She was 24 at the time. I felt actually hurt, honestly. She didn't even try to hear me out. I decided to take my losses with that, and here I am now, with little to no information about this place still. But at the end of the day, this whole adventure really felt more about the journey than the destination. From the filming to the friends who helped me along the way for such a dumb idea, I can say without a doubt that maybe Anime Pizzeria was the friends we made along the way and the laughs we shared together. I want to end this on a good note and say I do think this place could have worked. The reason stated before and the fact I think their dream for this was too big for the space and people they had to do it didn't help, but it could have worked. I want to instead show places that are anime or Japanese aesthetic and thriving to prove these places can work. But the issue is, there's nothing really here in America like that. Well, Japan did open its borders up. I knew what I had to do. I drove to the airport after booking my ticket to Japan. 17 hours later, we're here at Our first place we visit is none other than the one and only Otaku Cafe. I'm just so excited to be here. I wanted to start this place off for my obvious real trip to Nihongo land because I feel this has the closest name to being what you young Gen Zs call not based or cringe. I feel not only does this place alone prove a name isn't what will make or break your place of business, but it's also a good way to really hit the idea of theming your place around anime and gaming. From the fact anime figures and merchandise is up front and center once you walk in, and then in the back the lights and sounds are clicking and music bass boosted while people are just having fun playing foreign games, hits this nice welcoming feeling. To some, the overabundance of anime can be overwhelming, And that's fine, but to the rest who go here, this is like a secondary home to them. We also ended up coming here during a Smash tournament. Anna said it smelled musty, but I personally think that adds to the charm. It's not Smash if people actually showered. The amount of games here is also astounding. If you like fighters and music games, that is.
Is that motherfucking JoJo?
I do think the one thing this place lacks is variety in what types of games they offer. They did have Initial D at one point, but removed it, lowering the variety they had. I again stand by and say if these two genres are your favorite, then this place is heaven on earth for that. If you, however, want more variety, the small amount offered I don't think really can carry that. Prices are pretty cheap though, so you're not going to break the bank coming here. Otaku Cafe I feel stands the strongest when it comes to combining anime and gaming into a setting that's not only welcoming for families, but creates a safe space for people who want to have a place to geek out and feel accepted. I know it was a big thing for Anime Pizzeria, but unlike Otaku Cafe, they lacked any strong impact for creating that welcoming and safe space they desired. The second stop on our Nihongo trip is none other than Minato's Groceries.
My dirty ass would go there.
I picked this place because it's a Japanese grocery store. It hits all the Japanese themes and elements. Having all kinds of imported food and beverages from ramen, dried squid, to Big Pepsi. It's just Diet Pepsi if you're wondering. It always brings flashbacks of my trip to Japan when I come here. I've also been coming here since I was a freshman in high school. During this time, the store got a huge expansion that was needed badly. One of the main issues before was how crowded everything felt. This issue is almost non-existent with the new expansion. I think another thing this place has going strong is the fact it has a bunch of random plushies, stickers, clothes, you name it, they probably have it. Giving even more reason to come here and shop if you're not just wanting food, but maybe plates, bowls, or chopsticks. The atmosphere really feels like you just walked into a small mom and pop store in Japan. The biggest issue now for the store is the fact everything price-wise has been increased. This isn't really a choice the store made on purpose though. Importing things has just become more expensive to do. Even a year ago, the owner told us how much more it was costing to import to the US. It just sucks how much it's really impacting the place now.
Bro, what the fuck?
Overall, this is a store that's been around for a while and shows that very strongly. I will say it's probably not a fair comparison to have a Japanese grocery store be compared to a small pizza place, but I would have felt wrong not including this place in the list. I highly recommend this place to anyone wanting Japanese food, books, or plates. Even if you're not wanting to spend much, just coming here to see the vibe it brings is a nice experience for anyone to have.
I think this one's a little racist.
Finally, The last place on our trip, Heroes Ramen. I saved this one for last because I wanted to have a comparison that made more sense for the end. Food versus food. I can already hear some of you saying ramen versus pizza isn't even close to a good comparison, and why yes, the foods may not be similar. The thing Heroes does to make it stand out from the other ramen shops is what I think anime pizzerias should have done. Heroes makes sure as soon as you walk in, you feel like you entered a ramen shop in the middle of a busy city, having drinks, candy, and a bunch of Japanese aesthetic items for sale.
Titty figures.
Literally a mini grocery store inside of this ramen shop. The way this place is decorated also gives it a warm, welcoming vibe, from the colors and lighting giving this soft, home-like feeling, to the spread out but not obnoxious nerd merchandise, being nice for people who know what it's from, but also not overbearing to those who don't.
Is that John Cena?
It also helps that the food is prepared nicely. The fact I, with an iPhone, can create better looking shots in pizzeria says a lot. At the end of the day, no matter your location or space you have, if your heart is there, you can make food that not only won't cost an arm and a leg, but food that is worth coming back to. This is what I think Heroes does better than all the other ramen shops, and hell, even a lot of restaurants in Japan. It creates a lasting impression from not just the food, but the experience of being sat down, having the food arrive, and eating it while anime and soft Japanese music fills the atmosphere, making you feel like you really did travel to another country. That's why I think these three places really show when you have a dream and the motivation to achieve it, you can do it with flying colors. At the end of it all, Anime Pizzeria was an idea that never could find the ground it needed to stand on, and when it tried to have people give it a chance to show it was worth something, it never had anything worth showing to get people to trust it. Many things were done poorly and without care, and that's what made this place fail. Not the trolls, not the name, not the location, but the lack of motivation to create something beyond a pipe dream is what brought the downfall of Anime Pizzeria. Let this place be a lesson for those who want to create a business. Don't let the idea become too big or unorganized, or you may find yourself being a joke on the internet for the rest of time itself. Thanks for watching, guys. It's gaming time, boys. One thing I love about Pokemon is just how dedicated the fans can be, putting hours upon hours of blood, sweat, and maybe tears
No.
into fighting that special version of said Pokemon. Sometimes this version can be drastic to the point of changing the entire feeling of the Pokemon to being green or this. What the hell is the difference? Well, with the release of Scarlet and Violet, or I should say the official release, I decided to get back into my old shiny hunting roots and attempt a week-long shiny hunt. Yeah, for those who don't know, I used to be a shiny hunter myself. Yeah, this is what I thought it was. Cool. I just didn't know the name, but yeah, this is it. A shiny! What the fuck? Yes! Oh my god! Fuck yeah! Fuck yeah, baby! shiny, cool, whatever, nice.
Oh my god! Holy fuck, there he is! Oh fuck, dude! Oh fuck, baby, let's fucking go, boys!
Again, why not jump back into it? Since all the shinies can now be seen in the overworld since they're just wandering around, makes it a whole lot easier instead of just going through patches of the grass to find them. And I'm also going to be using my Switch that I nicknamed Ryujinx for anyone wondering. Well, without further ado, let's jump right in. We start our journey in the first area where I'll be spending a week here. If you're wondering why here, well, it's because the spawns here for Pokemon are very frequent and easy to keep reloading. I also really want a shiny Hoppip, Lechonk, and a Scatterbug, and they spawn pretty often here, meaning our chances can be pretty high for finding them. My strategy is just to go around killing everything in my path till one spawns, and out of nowhere, our first shiny appears. A shiny Hoppip appears, and we're easily able to catch it. I didn't find anything else though for the rest of the day, but the first day and already having a shiny means it was a good day. Day 2, I found absolutely nothing. I also wasn't able to play as often, so that could be why. But yeah, this just sucks. I was finally able to find another shiny, and it was again another shiny I wanted. This boy right here. We got the Lechonk and a Hoppip. I'm feeling good about this whole challenge. I want to mention again though, my strat for finding them is just me running around killing everything. So I'm not really trying to do maybe anything that would be special or more convenient or whatever. This is kind of just all I knew how to do it. If there's a new method now, I didn't know it at the time. This has to be the luckiest day I'll ever have in Pokemon. I didn't find just one shiny or two shinies. I found 5 shiny Pokemon. First one of the day being another Lechonk. I ended up finding 2 Lechonks this day that were shiny. And then I found 3 Tarantulas, I think? I don't know how to say this fucker's name. But I found 3 of them. So that was cool. Again, this was a crazy day for the challenge, and I doubt my luck will ever be this good again. I found 2 shiny Pokemon, this time being another Lechonk and a second Hoppip. The fact I can even get more than 1 a day is pretty good. I even had this weird glitch happen, so this was a good day. I finally found the last Pokemon I really wanted shiny. This boy right here, Scatterbug. I really loved the reverse color scheme for him, but he was all that I found that day. Finally, the last day of the challenge, and I grinded for hours and hours trying to find something, but it just kept feeling like all the shiny Pokemon just left. But from the shadows, a light shows itself. We finally found our last shiny of the challenge. A shiny Hoppip, making our total shiny finds to 12 shinies in a week. I can't believe this is how many we found in 1 week. I really am glad I did this challenge, honestly, because I do love shiny hunting, and the fact we found over 10, it's just crazy. This was a lot of grinding and doing mundane stuff, but it was fun. Who knows, maybe now I can do a whole run of the game with a shiny Lechonk only. Well, sorry this video wasn't that long. I have other stuff in the works. Probably like a Hamtaro video and then a few other stuff coming out. It just, right now, a lot of my videos are on hold because I have to wait on other people. But hope you enjoyed. Have a good day, guys.
You win.
This is part 2 to the Pikmin clone series. If you haven't seen part 1, then make sure to check it out. We killed God in that video. I want to say this right now, I don't know much about this series besides the animation is really creative and unique, and people want to fuck the Batgirl. I'm more surprised that movie tie-in games are still being made since I felt after the Wii it became too expensive to make these cheap cash grabs. I'm gonna go ahead and get this out of the way right now. When I play these types of games, I always try to have a positive mindset that the game won't be 100% garbage. It really does help to have a more positive outlook going into these types of games since you won't judge it as harshly if you're not already shitting on it before you jump in. I've done this a few times and ended up loving games like G-Force and the Hamtaro series by not judging the game before giving it a chance. I do also want to add, I think by doing this approach, it made the game a bigger letdown, sadly. I think it's time to dive into this and see what movie tie-in games have to offer in the year of 2022. We start our adventure by seeing this poorly low-quality JPEG of a ship. I'm not joking, these pictures used for the cutscenes seem so compressed. I'm playing this on the PC version as well, at the highest settings, and they still look like this. Drac is shown this compass that's magical or something. It really isn't explained why it's magical, but it is. Just as our heroes are relaxed, a storm comes bursting through and causes everyone to go overboard. Such horror and sadness from how bad this is, having everyone separated to fend on their own. How will we all survive? Mavis and Drac wake up on the shore of a mystery island as none of our friends are around. We're truly on our own, it seems. Until this weird island creature known as an Impa shows up and turns itself into a bad Impa. This is when the real journey starts. If till now you were wondering how this was a Pikmin clone, well, then I'm about to explain why. You control these Impas and use them to gather Imparites to get more of them while finding treasure along the island, exactly like Pikmin. Being honest with you, I find it weird this was the one style they chose to copy out of anything they could have picked. You go through the level till you find a rowboat just for Mavis to ruin the suspense about being stuck on the island, and she says she can see the ship floating like no storm ever happened. We row back to the boat just to see our main hentai protag here fine and safe with the blonde lady from before. She tells us the compass is gone and we need it if we ever want to make it out of the Bermuda Triangle. When did we ever end up here? I have no idea. It never explained. So now begins the real adventure though. We're shown this map with 3 islands on it and told we need to find the compass and our 3 missing friends. I can already see that this game is going to be lacking in content. Here we are at Island 1, and right off the bat, this is the most bland area I've ever seen. We're also being timed, by the way. We have 10 minutes before the sun rises, and Mavis and Drac have to hurry back to the ship. Spoiler alert, the time mechanic is pointless and makes doing tasks more tedious and mundane. We journey through the island till we come across our wolf friend who is stuck in the ground and wants us to find his kids while also saying things like this.
Take your time. You don't have to bring the kids back right away.
Well, if he's in no rush to save his kids from the giant attacking crabs and plants that spit acid gas, then I'm not either. We do end up finding his kids, who just stare at us blankly with no expression or soul to be found. After finding all 4 of his kids, they dig him back up, freeing him from his dirt prison. We also acquire a new Impa form, and this Impa form allows the Imps to dig and pull switches. That's it. We ride back to the boat to set off again back to Island 1. Every time you rescue anyone, it will boot you back, and it gets quite annoying. We travel along the path finding treasures for upgrades to either increase our total Impa count or time we can be outside before sunrise. With determination, we do end up reaching the first boss, or I should say bosses. The first boss we reach is this giant plant monster with sunlight surrounding it, making our bad Imps useless against him since they will burn and die if we send them to fight. The second boss being the fucking camera. The camera is horrendous because it will always try to lock behind Mavis depending on the direction she's walking. You obviously have to do a lot of walking to fight anything and to avoid the plant's attacks, which means While you're trying to aim to your side, the camera will keep trying to get behind you to see Mavis's sweet fucking ass, instead of aiming at the plant. This camera makes aiming a nightmare even with precise aiming mode on, which just makes a line on the ground. No options to adjust the camera either. The whole goal of the boss is for you to use the bat impas to kill the flowers that make stink trails to distract your wolf impas while using the wolf impas to deal damage. This boss would be near impossible if you didn't keep getting countless wolf impas to respond. With luck and no help from the camera, we take down the first boss and get the first piece to the compass. Now we repeat everything and do it for Island 2. We also are greeted with another cutscene. Quality. Just pure quality. We arrive at Island 2, and I'll spare most of the long-winded details since most of my time spent here was being lost. We find our next friend Frank, who lost all of his limbs and somehow managed to not be attacked by anything. He's also pretty okay with losing his body parts, it seems. We wander around and find all 4 of his body parts, and like that, he's good as new. We even get another Impa form, which in my opinion becomes the most useful Impa of them all. The Franken Impa. Why are these guys the best? Well, that's because of how combat works. You normally have to throw your Impas at the enemies and wait for them to start attacking. The Franken Impas are different in this case because when you throw them, they actually do damage right away, meaning it can make fights easier to keep doing constant damage. We finally encounter the second boss, and it's a giant crab. I, for the life of me, couldn't figure out how to hurt this guy, and I spent a good while trying to figure it out. I just looked it up after a while and learned the way to hurt him is really stupid. You see, normally there's these crab enemies when they run, they end up hurting you when they do this attack. There is a way to knock them out of this though. You can stop them by throwing a Franken Impa at them, but it's actually better to avoid doing this and let the crabs hit a wall. Hitting the wall stuns them, making it quick work. I ended up just never throwing Impas at the crabs when they did the dash attack, because it's always better to let them hit the wall. Now, back to the boss. The way you hurt the boss is by throwing an Impa at him while he's charging. I never would have guessed to do this, ever. After beating the boss, we then get another part of the compass and back to the ship for another quality cutscene.
That was one angry giant crab. I think I'm going to need a holiday from this holiday.
Hey, did Anime Pizzeria make this cutscene? Island 3 is finally here, and oh boy, this is the worst island in the game. Which isn't saying much when all 3 islands look exactly the same. Don't believe me? Here. Here's all 3 islands. I listed the numbers by the way, so you can see which ones are what. But I also listed them wrong. These are actually the right numbers for each island. Well, Island 3 has us finding our final friend, the Mummy Dude, while giving us a new Impa form. I actually find this Impa the most interesting because it has the ability to make bridges. If only they did anything with it besides showing you very obvious puzzles like this. Okay, I will give it some credit. It did have this one interesting puzzle where you had to use the sand wall to block off the smelly plant trail for the wolf impas to dig a path. We also get introduced to the newest enemy that looks very out of place. We wander some more till we reach the one and only final boss of the game. I'll let this fight play out in its entirety to show you how epic this boss fight is. Yeah, that was it. That was the whole boss fight. It really was that easy. The common enemies are harder than this thing, which is saying a lot. Well, with the final boss just dead, being easy as ever, we get the final compass part and are greeted with this amazing cutscene showing the Impa's gratitude towards us commanding and sacrificing many of their friends and families to survive. Isn't being a dictator great? Then the credits roll and we're booted back to the main menu like nothing happened. I really have never played anything so unsatisfying. This game is $24 in Steam, by the way. Now, with all that said and done, I think it's time to just get into what I liked about it and didn't. Let's start with what I liked about it. I liked these guys power-wise and the occasional puzzle with the mushrooms. That's it. Let's talk about what I hated. The visuals can be ugly as sin sometimes. The character models especially look like everyone is 1 minute away from a brain hemorrhage or shitting themselves. This lady is by far just royally fucked for no reason. I don't get why they look so bad compared to the movie counterparts, and it really makes it sting harder when you hit loading screens and then you see these high quality renders of what they're supposed to look like just to then load back into this shit. The environment all look bland. Every single one of it is just very fucking bland. The JPEGs are bland, enemies are bland, everything is bland. This is just a very bland looking game. I talked about this before, but the camera is atrocious. I don't understand why anyone thought it would be a good idea to force the camera to go back behind your character anytime you decide to walk in any direction that the camera isn't facing. This camera actually can affect your aiming to the point you will be lining up your shot, but Mavis or Draco will be turned not the way you're facing, causing the imps to just not even go where you're aiming at. This camera also constantly fights with you while trying to do any combat, making me avoid combat if possible, which sometimes isn't possible, and not because I'm forced to fight, but because of the imps AI. One thing I love about Pikmin is having full control of what my Pikmin do. They won't dare make an action unless I say so. The impas are not Pikmin. The impas at any point, if they're too close to an enemy, will just automatically attack and usually will result in them dying. I'll even try to call them back so they don't die, and they will just ignore me sometimes. If you're also trying to send them out to attack, better hope nothing is in the way or near the enemy, because the impas will then target that first, causing more death. I'm sure the AI is programmed to prioritize certain things over others, and that's why they're doing this. The impas do get stuck on things, but not as often as I thought. Still very annoying when it does happen. Speaking of combat, this is also horrible. One of the other issues with combat besides the camera is how you control your impas. You have to select what impa you want to call back, and then press the button to call those specific impas back. Sometimes I can spam it and get them all to come back, but most of the time I'm frantically switching between types, desperately calling them back before they die. At least the impas will all attack for the most part compared to Darwin's case. You do get this shield when you call your impas back, but this actually makes combat become just throwing them and calling them back as soon as you see the enemies about to attack. Every encounter will go like this, even the bosses are this. Finally, the environments and music are the most bland and tedious things to listen to and navigate in. There's no mini-map besides the map at the start to see the path, meaning if you didn't memorize the map, you're going to get lost. This, at the end of the day, is a kid's game, but they make choices that I'm sure kids would get so frustrated with. It got to the point the only way I knew what area I was in was by what phrase Mavis would repeat. I had to use an audio cue to realize I'm in this area again.
Now that's what I call a clearing.
The camera, the way it's placed, also makes navigating harder since the camera is zoomed into the max on you. The time being a mechanic here while navigating these maps makes it so annoying when you're finally making progress after being lost and you want to find an impa hole just to run out of time and have to backtrack all over again. The time in Pikmin is there to make you stress and have urgency for your actions and plan ahead. The time here makes me want to take a double gauge to the fucking face. I know at the end of the day, this game is a cash grab for kids, and I should have expected that, but I also like to have an open mind. Just because a game is targeted towards kids doesn't mean it has to be shit. Just look at Kirby or Splatoon. These are series that are for kids, but strive while doing it. Kirby makes a fun and easy to learn experience for people new to platformers, while Splatoon gives that chance for kids to try a shooter that isn't just about killing people. But they do have a pedophile problem, though. For the time they were making porn show up if they were losing. Second thought, let's scratch Splatoon. Let's go ahead and edit that out. With all that being said, I don't want to be like most YouTubers who spend countless hours in videos telling you why this children's content isn't what it used to be or it's bad. The game is bad and that's it. There's really nothing else to it. Well, Let's hope the next Pikmin clone game is actually good. Hopefully.
Donald's going quackers on video games now. You can save Daisy from the evil Murloc and control Donald's explosive temper. It's non-stop wacky quacky video game action. Rated E for everyone. Disney's Donald Duck Going Quackers available now.
We believe there are 5 perpetrators. I've never seen anything like it. There's fruit everywhere. Look what they did to my taxi.
Donkey Kong is back in an adventure so big, it's taking the country by storm.
In reaction, the governor has called in additional troops.
We believe one of them looks like this.
They're just not civilized.
We urge caution, and they are heavily armed with fruit.
I'd like to tell you the situation is under control, but it isn't. This turbocharged game has better graphics, more moves, bigger bosses, huge worlds. It's so big we included an expansion pack to get it all in.
They didn't even tip me.
And now, this. Donkey Kong 64. And you thought insanity was crazy.
Heaven help us all.
You know who lives in the third dimension. You know who is in control. You know the games of Nintendo 64.
Burger King and the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission want you to know about the voluntary recall of this Pokemon Pokeball. The ball may pose a suffocation hazard to children under 3. Throw the ball away or return it to Burger King. The safety of your child is of the utmost importance to us.
I was browsing Twitter one day when I found a picture of a game that looked awfully familiar. It was a game on Steam heavily inspired by one of my favorite N64 games, so you know I had to check it out. I always love seeing clones or games inspired by this series and what they can do with it. Even if others will just throw it away for the sake of it being a clone, I always try to have an open mind with games like this. It's also nice to see an N64 game being done for once instead of a PS1 inspired clone, so that's a win for me. That being said, I think it's time to see what that game in question is. This is Valky 64. This game is obviously heavily inspired by Zelda, especially the N64 ones, to the point of having models almost being what looks like direct ports. The heart health is always a big giveaway too if the person ever played Zelda or not. My guy, even the Powerpuff Girls Zelda game looked better at first glance. I want to give it the benefit of the doubt since, again, looking similar shouldn't break a game. Maybe the story can help a lot. Zelda games are always known for their breathtaking and unique stories, so maybe this will have one. The story is about how 2 goddesses were at war, Goddess of Order and Goddess of Chaos. They fought with guardians, but the war ended up killing all of them except one. That guardian being you. It's a little different than Zelda till you get into gameplay and the statue tells you to go collect gems. Well, we're off to the first world, which is the forest area, and with first impressions I can say this isn't the worst area I've seen, but man does this make me wish I was actually playing Zelda. Everything here just really feels like a carbon copy of Hyrule Field. If you're wondering what the point of this game is, well, you run around and do side quests for people while you find the dungeon and beat it. You do this for every world. Since we're traversing this world, I think now it's time to cover your movement options. You can strafe and backwalk, have 2 different sword swings, and I think one is heavy and the other is a light attack, but they all feel the same. You even have a dedicated jump button, and you can do a jump attack if you jump and slash in the air. This move is pretty bad because if you already have your sword out, you can't jump, and doing this attack is very slow and usually will get you killed. You do have a dodge mechanic, and it works for the most part, but can really break fights. It's again a pretty basic Zelda experience. We just continue to travel around the land till we finally arrive at our first dungeon, and I kind of like the look of it. It really just feels like a weird version of Forest Temple though, which again makes me just want to play Zelda. The issue now with this dungeon, and I'm going to assume this is the same for all of them because, spoiler alert, I only did 2 dungeons and finished 1. I'll go into detail why later in the video. These dungeons don't really feel like dungeons, and at best are new maps with enemies, and a few paths you can take, but that's it. You have these switches here and different keys, but that's all the thought you will ever need. Most rooms are solved by killing everything or running through it. This really sucks that these are the dungeons because some of these areas look so amazing, but you spend almost no time in those. But the rooms you do spend time in are the most bland, basic rooms with enemies in them. The enemies also are just annoying. I don't hate the looks of them, but they are just reused throughout the game, especially these guys. They just change their color or give them a new weapon. My experience with the dungeon was just running through the dungeon rooms and beating the boss. The boss in the first dungeon was a total pushover, but he was beaten like most enemies in the game. You swing, and then you back up, and then you repeat. After beating the boss, we receive our first jewel that we needed, and then we head off to the next area, and it's a desert world. It's just very bland, and I actually ran out of places to go before I learned I had to find this guy something interesting to get the temple key. I have no idea what that meant, and after 20 minutes of looking around, I gave up. There's not really a walkthrough of this game, by the way, that I could find. Only like 3 people talked about this game in the reviews for Steam, so I had to go into this shit just completely blind. The only good thing about this area is we had a new enemy type, and it's a bee. The next place I went to was the lava area, and this area really just killed me. We traveled around, and I saved this guy who ended up giving me a heart piece. I also gave this crystal to this guy who gave me a hammer. Over time of wandering around, I was finally able to find the dungeon, and this one looked really nice and interesting. Then, the dungeon was the same as the first one, with monster rooms to beat, and a single switch to stand on that just made a shortcut. So, cool. The boss here is also very tedious, and I gave up after an hour of trying to kill this thing. I'll go into more detail why he was bad later on. I finally arrived to the last world, and it's an ice world, and it's again the same as the other ones. I just decided to stop here because I just could not care anymore at this point. I guess it's time to tell you what I like and don't like about this, as per usual. We'll start with what I like. Some things I like are the worlds. None of the worlds looked really that bad besides the desert one just being the worst, but had the best music. I really do think this game does a great job at getting that N64 vibe to it, but also still tries to be modern in some areas. The player character looks really nice. I kept thinking of her looking like a cross between Samus and Dark Magician Girl. I never really had an issue with how she looked, and she animated really well and feels fine to control. Jumping is probably the worst because it's really floaty, but you can do this, so that's cool. Bosses and enemies also look good for the most part, even if they were used a lot. The best thing I think this game really does is showing that the N64 style is still just as good as the PS1 style. So that's kind of really all that I liked about it. And I hate trying to be negative. I know I always say like, oh, I come with these with a positive mindset where I don't try to be negative. But I'm still going to be very honest about shit I don't like. And sometimes people take that as I think the game is just complete trash because I do sometimes have more things I disliked than I liked. But I want to make this very clear. Even though I disliked a good amount and I liked some stuff, this game isn't the worst thing I've ever played. So please don't take it to heart and think that I just like brutally fucking hate this game. The combat system seems interesting, even if basic, till you realize full swings will just get you hit mid-combo, and the jump slash is too slow and not precise. Your best bet is to swing and then dodge, and then repeat. This is because someone on the dev team decided to make these enemies hit like a fucking truck, and not stagger. Most enemies can do 3 to 4 hearts of damage, and health drops are so rare unless you get lucky by killing them or finding a random pot, which drops money more often than health. It's just better to avoid combat unless you can't. If the enemies didn't hit so hard, then it would be worth at least trying to kill them for extra hearts. The lack of staggering makes it just not worth it. The fact the sword has a bunch of dedicated buttons to it while only having 2 buttons do anything different, and these buttons aren't even labeled to do anything in the UI, so it really just makes the player confused. It also takes a really long time to pull the sword out, and when you do have it out, you run slower and can't jump. I get it, it's a big sword, but a weapon shouldn't hinder you in battle because then why should I use said weapon? Shops also sell potions for abilities in life, but I'm not sure how these work. I bought a potion of haste, but for the life of me, I have no idea if it's used automatically or if I have to use it. I couldn't find out how to select it either. I tried everything and nothing happened. The worst thing was that I just lost it after I died. so I still don't know if I used it or not. These side quests that the townspeople give you are either very on the nose or riddled up to the extreme. Find my kid in the mountain area. Okay, easy enough. Go look in the mountains. Bring me something interesting. Okay, like what? The townspeople also really don't feel like they fit in this world when you stand next to them. Or maybe you're out of place and that was the point. If it wasn't, then the slimes are the only thing close to the anime vibe they wanted, while everything else looks like low poly World of Warcraft enemies. I again don't hate them look-wise, I just don't feel they fit well next to a very anime-inspired character. I'm also not a fan of how often enemies are just reused and recolored. I don't mind the enemies with different weapons, but all this does is increase or decrease their hitbox. They still all attack the same way. Going to the music now, this is not good. In the forest area, most of the songs use what sounds like FL Studio's basic keyboard FL keys. It's not good and gets ear grating very fast. The song in the forest area's open area doesn't fit either. I'm in a new world with grand landscapes and things to explore, so why does this music sound like a bad elevator music? The town theme was fine here, but man, it's just crazy how a lot of music is either passable or downright horrid to listen to. The snow world by far is the worst because it sounds like someone recorded the audio through a telephone speaker. These worlds being gigantic and empty or having some areas filled to the brim with monsters to make the area seem more interesting while these songs play just kills you over time. Now, it's time to cover the boss that broke me. The issue with this boss is not the boss itself, but the room he's in. For a game that couldn't control itself with how big everything was before, this has to be the most cramped area in the game. The map is also filled with 2 flame hazards, 2 jumping flame hazards, while being surrounded by lava. This spider is also gigantic and can hinder you at times to even get around him. It got to the point I would just end up jumping into the lava because I couldn't get around. This spider also has a really bad hitbox. Sometimes it would make sense, and other times I don't even know what attack he was doing to kill me. If you do manage to get him down to half health, he summons a bunch of baby spiders for even more hazards. Sorry game devs, but if your room needs to be a second boss to make your first boss engaging, then you have a bad boss. I know even in Zelda, some bosses like the Fire Temple boss had these fire holes that could damage you for being on them, but these also served a purpose for the boss fight since the boss would use these. In this game, the boss uses none of the fire hazards, so why are they here? I can easily excuse the baby spiders because it's a spider. I wouldn't be surprised if it had babies, and even Goma did this in the fight, but the rest of the stuff, I just can't. I probably fought this boss for over an hour and dying over and over because getting health would require me to either go out and fight monsters in the dungeon that could also one-shot me, or go back to the village and then back all the way here. I just refused to leave and relied on the pots in the boss room, which I learned aren't programmed to have preset spawns. These are when a pot will always spawn this item in question. Majora's Mask does this a lot with its pots. I was sometimes getting up to 3 or 4 hearts, but other times I would get 1 to 2 hearts and a bunch of money. Sometimes just money. What's worse is the game is probably programmed to spawn hearts more if damaged, but if you end up picking up a heart and then smash another pot because you healed yourself, there's a chance of not having the game drop the heart as often. This is why I just couldn't care anymore. I don't think this game is the worst thing out there, and a good amount of these things can be fixed, like the damage output from enemies or making some of the areas more condensed so they can be navigated faster. This could be a lot better for the $5 price tag, but as it is now, it's trying too hard to be Zelda while not having its own identity or reason for the player to play it over Zelda. Then, this made me think of something though. A lot of games seem to do this approach and usually fail. Games try to be what came before while failing to provide anything new for players besides just being that game that tried to be the other good game. Then, I remembered a game that actually would be a great example of doing this. The game that I feel relates heavily to this game was a game wanted by fans for a while. A game even made by some of the former devs to the original product it tried to imitate. That game is none other than
Hey man, are you ready for this? Yeah, I was ready 20 years ago. Okay, let's do this. Here we go. Oh, it's finally time. Oh, thanks to you, it's the game revival. You helped come true. They said this seems dead. That's a load of yap. And we're here to prove it with this familiar rap.
I feel Ukulele is a good example of trying too hard to appeal to what worked in the past while losing your identity in the process. Ukulele was such a big deal for fans of Banjo because this was going to be a revival for us, and it was being worked on by some of the old Rare employees. This rap was even made to congratulate gamers on making this happen. To put in perspective how big this was for people, the game originally had a goal of around $200,000. It reached that in 40 minutes, and by the end of the day, the total campaign reached over $1 million. To this day, this is still one of the fastest growing Kickstarter games ever. It's weird to think about how hyped and praised this game was, and how now it's overshadowed by a sequel that isn't even close to the same style of gameplay. It's again because Ukulele set out to be the game for Banjo fans, and it just ended up being a game for no one, since most hardcore Banjo fans while playing would rather just play Banjo, and most agreed it couldn't live up to Banjo at all. This is why these two games failed. You're asking the player to play your game over the game you're copying. These games don't set anything for themselves and just give the player the feeling of, hey, you remember when Zelda or Banjo did this? Doesn't this feel like Zelda or Banjo? If you ask me, I would love to see the devs of Valky make something with this character that's more original. It's obvious they did try, and even if it's not the best finished product, I do see where it could shine more. This game at times, as I said before, looks amazing and really does hit that nostalgic feel. The combat, if the enemies were toned down and had staggering or ways to not get hit out of combo, would make this a pretty decent combat system. The music easily can be made better or use better sounding instruments. I really do hope if the devs sees this, they don't take my video as I hate this game and want them to quit. I do see talent here, and I feel with time and making something more original, this team can really shine. My final thoughts, I do think though this game is not finished, it needs more time, but that's just me. Let this be a lesson to game devs though, living in the past can be fine, and trust me, I love a lot of the games from my childhood. However, one day we need to realize when we need to move forward. If we don't, we may find ourselves in a time period of remakes and remasters and games winning Game of the Year, and then the remaster winning it as well. Oh wait. Aesthetic. You know that thing where someone sees it and then they say how this is them, and then you have to say, my guy, that's a video of the PSP scrolls with reverb mall music titled Nutty Wave. I'm sure we all at one point fell into the rabbit hole of aesthetic culture, listening to our reverb and slow music with added white noise to bring in that ambience while wearing our hoodies or shirts with random Japanese words on it. I get it. If you're still into that style, shameless sponsor, but check out Public Space and use this code if any of this aesthetic is something you're looking for. Well, shameless sponsor over. I for one got into the rabbit hole of gaming aesthetics. Lots of jungle music and PS1 style games, it just hits so hard for me to see both of these combined. It really just has this comfy feel, even if I never grew up with a PS1. More of an N64 guy, even if that system has like 10 good games at most. Just accept the N64 library was shit, and the games that are good are really good and carry the weight. Come on guys, let's be real. On a tangent, but going back to what I was saying. I decided to compile some games together that I feel have a very nice aesthetic to them. If this does well, maybe I can make a follow-up, because trust me, I found many games I enjoyed but had to narrow it down to these few. I want to say as well, I have no real order in what I talk about, so hopefully this video doesn't feel all over the place because of it. But I think it's time to put this aesthetics in my veins and take a fun aesthetic trip. Street Fighter always seems to nail its looks and aesthetics with each release. From the menu to the music, just goddamn the music. I, for one, want to talk about a specific Street Fighter, one that I spent more time playing over the other games. It's a pretty obscure one at that. That Street Fighter game is none other than Pocket Fighter itself. I get it, it may not be hardcore enough with its chibi look, but trust me, this game is amazing. The animations are just so creative and poppy, and I love how wacky this game can be. I mean, look at these attacks. I love how there's even a bunch of references here to other games made by Capcom, Mega Man being the most noticeable one for me. This game just oozes so much charm. The stages also have a lot going on in them and look really good. I really just find this one to be the best looking game in the series, to be honest. And that may get some hate, but I'm standing very strong by that opinion. It really hits the anime feel and turns it up to 10. I would highly recommend checking this game out, even if it's never going to be good for competitive. It's still a really good Street Fighter game. It's even on the new Capcom Fighter collection, so we now have a modern way to play it. Pocket Fighters will always hold a special place in my heart, even if it's nostalgic mostly. But moving on to another fighting game. Slap Happy Rhythm Busters is another game that oozes aesthetic. I really think this old 3D model games like this are my favorite style, which is crazy to think about how back in the day, games with this style were hated for not being realistic or for babies. Now these are seen as timeless and highly regarded as the right move to do back in the day. I still find it funny though, even gamers today are still hating on games that are cartoonish in nature. It's as if we just never learned. Slap Happy Rhythm Busters is a fighting game with a neat rhythm mechanic with the finisher moves in the game. These finishers require you to do the music minigame to deal more damage to your opponent. It's not the biggest music focus, but it's still an interesting thing they did. This game never left Japan though, so lots of Americans never experienced this. Looking at the characters, I can say first off there's quite a lot for a PS1 fighting game, and all of them have a very unique look to them. I really can't find anything I hate about these characters. The only nitpick I can think of is this is just Chun-Li. How did they not get sued? The background's not gonna lie, give me Hi Puffy Yumi vibes, and I'm curious how many people just went, oh, I remember that show.
I'm your number one fan.
Hey yo, Discord mod moment? Garuman is a game that was released on the PSP back in 2007, and then later on got a 3DS port that is pretty bad compared to the other two versions. Finally though, the Steam version is here, and makes this the best way to play. This game is quite fun to traverse around and see the cute aesthetic environments. I really love the combat in this, with how you can use your drill and even do charge attacks and whatnot. Combat does start off slow with a very basic attack, but later down the line you can do stuff like this. You can even buy upgrades for your drill that end up changing the look every time you upgrade. You even have an elemental add-ons for your drill, from fire to ice and then finally electric. There's also the music rhythm mechanic that is useful for getting critical hits and raising your damage meter. Getting hit will lower your bar, incentivizing you to do damageless runs if possible, which can either be easy or really hard. I also will say this, game has probably one of the most satisfying dodges in any game I've ever played. It's just so fluid and fast. There's a few other things in the game that are satisfying, like how it feels to break stuff with your drill, or when a bunch of coins fall and you pick them up. It just gets my dopamines kicking every time. You can use these coins for upgrades, so they do serve a functional purpose. You can even unlock costumes for Perrin, but some of these requirements can be hell. There's a lot of costumes though, so there's bound to be something you like. I think it's time to dive into the story. I won't go into full detail to save time, but here's the rundown. Perrin ends up going to live with her grandpa because her parents had to leave for work for a long time. She arrives in the town where she's told has no children, which is probably for the best because not even a day here, an adult is clearly hitting on this young child. Hey yo, Discord mod moment bro, what the fuck? You end up finding this young girl in town as she's being attacked by a dog, but surprise, surprise, she ends up being a monster instead of a human girl. She decides to reward you for helping her by taking you to the monster world, where you also learn monsters can only be seen by children, and not adults. You have this fun time lapse of you getting to know everyone, but then Monster World gets attacked by the Phantoms, and the main bad guy here, Prince. He stole their furniture, so now they can't live, which is a weird thing to steal, but go off, I guess. You decide to stop him and save the Monster World and bring back their furniture. The story is again fine, serviceable at best, but I really just care more about the gameplay. There's 2 endings, and this all depends on if you bring all the furniture back or not, but I won't really be going over the endings. One thing this game was advertised heavily on release was the amazing voice cast. This was a big deal in a lot of the press releases, and after looking to the voice cast, I can see why they advertised it. Some of these people either were really big at the time, or now are more well known. I'll go over a few I find interesting, starting with Quentin Flynn, known for his roles as Raiden, Axel, and the 2 cats from Blinks. They also had Robin Atkins, the voice of Luxord and Travis Touchdown, but his more important role being Academic Dr. Cockroach and Party Dr. Cockroach. I know, crazy, they got the man himself. Next up is Justin Shinkaro, who is the voice of fucking Charlie Brown. Amber Hood is next, and she voices the main character in the game, but her most well-known role for me is her role in Ape Escape 3 as Natalie, but her biggest role being Shorty 2 and Groupie Fish 2 from Shark Tale, the video game. Wait a minute, Groupie Fish 2? Hey yo, what the fuck? Now, if you haven't heard of these voice actors, then for sure you will know these next 2. Starting off, we have Steve Blum, with most recent works being in Neon White and Ramu from the new Chocobo racing game. He's however mostly known for a lot of children's cartoons such as The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, My Life as a Teenage Robot, and Digimon Avengers 2000. I will say for a lot of anime fans in America, his biggest role for them would be none other than Tom from Toonami.
Racism still exists.
His 2 gaming roles I find interesting are Yellow Monkey from Ape Escape 3, and his most life-changing role yet, Whitey and LeFrog from Flush Away. Finally, we have the most well-known voice actor who basically voiced in almost everything you can think of, Tara Strong. Like, the fact they got her is crazy, but they managed to do it. They managed to get the woman most known for her role as the baby from the Minions movie. How the hell will they ever go up from here? Well, I highly recommend Guruman if you're into hack and slash platformers, especially anime themed ones, since this just oozes anime influences. From how her eyes can be seen on top of her hair, or how the pigtails are just not even attached to anything, and the big bulgy eyes. Like I said, it's a nice aesthetic pleasing game worth checking out, and maybe I'll do a full detail review of this one day if people want it. The king of aesthetically pleasing low poly 3D comes from the game known as Mega Man Legends or Mega Man 64. I mean, just look at these models and textures and how everything moves. Just look at this, it's perfect and I love it. It's also so loved, in fact, that many game devs try to mimic this style because it really is just that pleasing to the eyes. Even in some of the most colorless areas in this game, you can't help but love it. And when you do head out to the areas that have color, those colors pop. I will say I grew up with the N64 version of the game, which is supposed to be the worst version, but I never minded this port all that much. If there's one thing, though, I feel this game did the best out of every game on the system, is character design. Even from the basic townsfolk to these Lego guys, these character designs are so iconic and beautiful. The way everything moves as well just gives me so much pleasure for my eyes. Even when these characters are in other games, the design still holds so well. I can't say where this game falls flat is control-wise, but it's not the worst controls I've ever played, but it's not the best either. When I was younger as well, I never could get past the first boss, and when you died, you had to repeat the whole start all over again. It didn't stop me from playing the starting area out the ass, though. Our cousin came over though, and he finally beat the first boss for us so we could progress, and in return, I had to let him fight Dark Link once I got to him in Ocarina of Time. I didn't keep my side, and I fought him anyways. I was an asshole child, I know. Well, time to do a brief rundown of Mega Man Legends' story. Volnut and Roll are known as diggers who look for quantum refractors, which is what the city uses for power. Also, the world is flooded, but I mean, just drink the water, it'll go down. They end up crash landing on an island where they meet the air pirates who are trying to find treasure buried in the island. You run around and stop them and all that good stuff. Again, minor story, not going to go into full detail. But overall, Mega Man Legends is a beautiful experience for Mega Man fans, and I highly recommend checking this out. Rip to Mega Man Legends 3 though. Yeah, this has to be the most hyped intro for a game. You hear the name yelled, and you see the skating, and you know this is going to be a ride. Even if skating in real life is seen as uncool, I'm sure Jet Set Radio made everyone at least go out and try to skate. I for one did, and busted my ass bad, and never did it again. Jet Set Radio really couldn't have come at the right time. Giving that free rebellious lifestyle and look, going from the 90s to the 2000s, this game showed it wasn't stopping the loud-in-your-face 90s trend. But unlike the 90s being loud for the sake of being loud, Jet Set Radio was setting out to be loud with a message behind that. Leaving your mark around the city and showing you're above the social norms set by society. This plays into the Jet Set Radio's main gameplay being graffiti art. Graffiti at the time was seen as a rebellious act by teens and at worst vandalism. Now people see it more as a work of art to the point some cities even pay graffiti artists to make murals for them. The act of graffiti in this game is just vandalism though. It's cool vandalism, but it's still vandalism. Jet Set Radio is probably the first time I ever saw graffiti art actually look good, especially when most art I ever see was a swastika or a shitty drawn name that couldn't be read. The cel-shaded art style with these thick outlines plus how all the colors pop is just so satisfying. This game really shines with its look in the night stages when neon lights cover the area. Plus, the music just brings this all together. Hideki Naganuma, when he's not jacking off to Lugia, is probably one of the most known music artists for this game, while others such as Richard Jacquez, David Soul, Toronto, and Mimi Rice helped with some of the tracks. The American version of the game even got 2 new songs, one of them featuring Rob Zombie, and it's really out of place, but it's Rob Zombie, so who cares? This was actually pretty interesting that the PAL and NTSC versions got content that Japan didn't get to later. 2 maps and 2 new songs that Japan didn't get to experience till around a year after the game came out. If you needed more reason why this game fits that aesthetic in your face screw the man attitude, Sega hosted a contest called Graffiti is Art where people sent in graffiti art. Sega picked 5 people to fly out to San Francisco to do the challenge and the winner would win $5,000. Well, the mayor at the time, Willie Brown, tried to shut it down, but Sega was able to keep the contest going, giving the fans a view of Sega winning against the man. This was probably the best marketing strategy they could have done. The only thing, though, I will say I always found weird about this game was how bad the cops are. These guys bring fucking attack helicopters and tanks after you for spray painting. I did see a video once that tried to say they do this because before the game came out, they had a really bad train attack where Shoko Asahara had people attack a train station with sarin gas, but I think that's a big reach for why the cops act like this in a game, and pretty disrespectful to even compare these two in general. But yeah, the cops are crazy in this game. It's a weird game, what do you expect? If you haven't experienced Jet Set Radio, then by all means, try it out. It's on Steam, it's pretty cheap. If not, emulate it. Res is what happens when you take music rhythm, shrooms, and flying through space while shooting things down and made a game out of it. The visuals are mostly wireframe and very low poly models, but it brings everything together for this nice space future look. Easily can see this game being advertised in a mall and someone calling it the game of the future. There's boss fights as well in this game, and if you're interested in them, overall, Res is the fun way to try psychedelics without taking any. I recommend this for the futuristic music alone. Moving on, we have Dolphin Blue, and this is what you would get if Echo the Dolphin decided, screw it, we need guns, and contacted the Metal Slug creators and told them he needed their help. Dolphin Blue seriously kicks ass and looks amazing while doing it. Combining beautiful 3D models and art with the 2D animated sprites, it's crazy how well this game just pulls the look off. Everything is so charming in this, and what other game can you use a dolphin to shoot at people? All the sound effects and guys flying on screen after you mow them down just gets your heart racing so fast. The OST accompanying this as well fuels the energetic gameplay very well. This game really hits peak aesthetic when you go underwater and get this nice tinted blue over everything and see the vast ocean with broken 3D model ships in the background. I've never played much of Metal Slug, but this game easily makes me want to try it more. If you have never played this, I highly recommend it because just look how beautiful and frantic this game is. It's worth a shot to at least try out.
Tina! Cute! Every Pantan's heartthrob! Mr. Ball! Looking good today in that red headgear. Black! Black is what we like to call nap happy. But when he wakes up, watch out! Sneak! What a clown! He baffles everybody with his wacky style. Jaw! Unstoppable and malicious! He's a killer! Just as ferocious as he looks! Ow!
Okay, let me defend myself on this one. Yes, the characters in the opening movie are ugly as all sin. Like, really, really ugly. How can this be anything close to the other games for aesthetically pleasing to the eyes? I'll explain. Ignoring all of the horrible anime opening bullshit, whatever it is, Pikmin Tri-Salon is actually kind of nice to look at. Mostly being the levels. It's one of the few games that actually brings color to snowy areas. The character models from the back, at least mixed with the landscapes and backgrounds, look quite interesting. You even have a good variety of snowy areas, so a lot of tracks don't feel the same at all, which is hard when most of the color you have to work with is white. You even have a pinball table track. I see where Waluigi got his inspiration from. Understandable. The biggest issue that ruins this game is blackface. I see why this never came to America. A lot of the loading screens as well reminded me of these old weird Game Informer ads. I think that's another reason why I like this aesthetic of lore. Is this game going to be for everyone though? No, but I do think this game does a good job at what it set out to do. Be a wacky, fun little racing game. But, speaking of snow racing games, I have two more for you. Snowboard Kids 1 and 2 are Atlus's attempt at the racing genre, and I would say they achieved what they wanted. I'm not into snowboarding games, but having a Mario Kart style one ended up being really fun. The whole game has you going down a huge slope to then be carried back to the top and then repeat till the laps are done. Even has this nice animation for when you hit the bottom and head back up. Personally, I think Snowboard Kids 1 falls flat with the variety since only 3 stages aren't snow ones. One being grassland, the second being a desert area, but then the final one being a whole slope through a place in Japan with cherry blossoms everywhere, and it's probably one of the best tracks in the game. I really can't tell you though if I love or hate the character models, but I can say I love the 2D art for sure. It's just the idea behind the 2D art I feel was just too complicated to carry over to 3D. You ended up having these really nice designs just to have it be ruined by dates. I still think in motion these characters look fine, and they're not the worst models I've seen for the system, but they're also not even average. Snowboard Kids 2, however, improves mostly on the level variety, and the characters did get redesigns plus some new faces, but the models, man, they're still looking pretty bad. In motion, they look fine, and we even have a full story mode with cutscenes of our characters doing stuff. The levels in Snowboard Kids 2 have you going underwater, getting shrunken down to then race down a kid's toy room. You even race a dinosaur. Again, I feel bad if I spoil everything this game offers, so I can easily say Snowboard Kids 2 is massively better, but I still love both for the fun designs and the aesthetic they bring. Recommend trying out both of you. Has to be one of the most beautiful racing games I've ever laid eyes on. This is true peak aesthetic for racing. This game uses cel-shaded and does it so well. Seeing the Honda Type R, the Mazda RX-8, and the Dodge Viper in this style never made these cars look better. If you're not sold yet, then here's the anime car everyone loves, even though it's just a overhyped Toyota Corolla. The amount of customizations, though, in this game is amazing, from body kits to colors to even what your license plate says. You can spend a lot of time here just making that amazing dream car you've always wanted. This game really shines when it's in motion, and the fact I barely ever see this gameplay used in a lot of those chill trapping videos, especially from this channel, is insane. The visuals feel so perfect for those types of videos. Just going at high speeds in this game and feeling the energetic music while looking at the visuals. I really think this is my favorite racing game by far. It started to go up in price though, since people are hearing more about it, so act fast if you want it at a better price. I highly recommend this game if you're into racing games, because this is just true peak racing aesthetic. Mach-N X is Red Steel if Red Steel was good. This is another game made by Atlas and probably one of the darker games on the list. It has this nice horror atmosphere to it, and the music just blends well with the visuals. You run around in first person and swing a sword, all that good first person stuff. I think this game is really beautiful, especially when areas have that tint of blue from the lights and aren't afraid to get more creative. The enemies in this game also look great, which is expected from the company that gave us Mothman and Penis Mobile. One thing I love is how this game isn't afraid to get trippy, and when it does, it gets really trippy. The levels also have a pretty good amount of variety, and I'll make sure to pop even in the darkest of areas. The biggest issue that does bring this game down, though, is the really bad voice acting.
Even for something that's worldwide, there must be limitations. This must be a huge organization to have so many people here.
We will soon live in a time of suffering.
Get a fucking McDonald's has a message. What do I say? I want a burger tomorrow?
Overall, a nice dark cyberpunk feeling aesthetic and worth trying out. Stretch Panic is one of the weirdest games on this list, but that doesn't stop it from being really creative. You play as this girl who uses a demon hand to grab things and pull them to damage them. It's pretty basic combat, but somehow manages to stay interesting. The best way I can describe this game is that it's like a dream. The hub area is really cool, having this hand-drawn scribble look to it, almost as if what you're seeing is a faded memory. The bosses in this area are weird and wacky, but great. I honestly can't think of any boss in the game I hated design-wise. For the most part, this game revolves around you going into levels, but the main goal is to beat all of the bosses. This game is also pretty short if you know what you're doing. The best thing this game has as well are these. Best game on the list right here. I mean, what more do you fucking need? Stretch Panic is worth trying out if you guys want. Speaking of games that feel like dreams, this is LSD Dream Emulator. It's a walking simulator with the game being designed around the creator's dreams he kept in a dream journal. This was a PS1 game that never left Japan, and hard copies of this game can go for around $850 to over $1,000. The best way to play this now is either on PS3 since it's on the Japanese PSN store, or you emulate it. Looking at this game now, this nonsense nature and how mysterious this game still is makes this such a fun pick. I do think graphics look ugly as sin, even for a PS1 standards, but I also love how ugly they look at the same time, since I can even remember in my dreams how fucked up everything looks. I remember once I even had a dream about the new Pokemon games before they came out, and Articuno had a new form, and it literally was this, but it was a robot, and it was blue. This game is played by you walking into stuff to make things happen, but usually what will occur is you teleporting to a new area. You can have different types of dreams shown by this chart at the end, but I don't think these really change anything. There's also this guy, or he's mostly called the Hat Man, which is not to be confused with the Shadow Person Hat Man that you get from Benadryl. He's probably the one thing you want to avoid, because if he gets you, you lose your ability to revisit dreams. This game was such a hit, it inspired games like this, so it's safe to say this game was a success. Out of all the mysteries though in this game, there's one I really want answers to, and it's what the hell are these supposed to be? So I'm not sure why, but this game features porn in this Asian girl a lot. I don't know who she is or what's the point of it, but these textures only appear apparently in the violence district. Which that area is home to car crashes and murder/suicides, so these sexual images add more to the mystery. I heard a rumor once that these were actual photos of a girl who was murdered and raped, but there's no credibility to these claims at all. My theory at best is man wanted to add porn since it can be seen as a negative in the negative areas. It's still a mystery though why he added porn, but I'll probably never get answers to these mysteries or questions I have. The only video I could find of this area is this guy's playthrough, so I'm assuming getting these textures is really rare. With that being said, try out LSD Dream Emulator if you want, it's pretty interesting. Aquatic Ambience, probably one of the best songs from Donkey Kong Country. A song that made the water level in it actually enjoyable. It's really crazy how much impact this song really brings to the game. Now what if I told you there's a game that is basically Aquatic Ambience if it was a video game? On the surface, this game looks pretty bad. It's basically an RPG / adventure game with gear and other stuff you have to find. The stuff honestly isn't why I'm talking about this. It's when you finally get to do what the name of the game is called, is when this game truly hits peak aesthetic. You see this loading screen just to be dropped into this. This has to be some of the most unique and ahead of its time underwater music I've ever heard. These songs are just begging for some breakcore remixes. There's just so many good songs in this game, even if the actual game is just this. I swear this music carries it big time. Like, just look. It's crazy just how powerful the music is here. Again, check this out if it looks nice, but at best, the OST is probably worth your time, if anything. Frog Gun is a game where you play as this girl and use a frog as a gun. It's straight to the point, and I like it. This game really gives me Captain Toad vibes. There's a jump button, but jumping won't be the greatest for platforming. The main tool for the game is your frog gun. Not only can you grab enemies and throw them, you can use it to grab walls and pull yourself like a hook shot. The frog also talks, and since he never complains about you using them in such manners, I guess he's fine with it. You maneuver what feels more like obstacle courses over actual platform levels. You do have boss fights, and they're fine for what they are. There's also hats you can buy, so if you play TF2, this game is free. The story is just you setting off to save your parents after they didn't come back from an expedition. Overall, not much to really say besides this game being really good for what it sets out to do. Worth playing if you're into platformers and PS1 aesthetics. What more can I say about Knights besides it's how Chaos came to be, it's also where Sonic was able to be controlled in 3D space for the first time. It's just a very awesome game from Sega, and I love it for that. There's a reason why when I play Sonic Adventure and see Knights just doing whatever this is, I still just smile. The gameplay is about you flying through rings and destroying stuff. It's crazy, it's Superman 64, but good. There's bosses and things like that, and they're fine for what they are. It still gets me though that Knights technically is an anti-hero and wasn't even supposed to be good. He just decided to do it. Knights is also gender neutral since it never establishes if Knights is a boy or a girl. There's also a remake for this one on the Wii, but they made Knights British.
Hey, Will, over here.
And the humans look like this. I highly recommend checking Knights out, especially if you always were the guy who said this when he showed up. Who the fuck is this guy? Dr. Slump is a PS1 game that never left Japan, but the artist known for a very niche anime called Dragon Ball Z worked on this. Interesting enough, some of you probably know who this girl is from this game without ever even playing this. She's appeared in J-Star Victory Plus, and she's also in Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3. If you're interested in this game, there's a fan translation of this, but it just seems like a basic adventure game to me. Look-wise though, this is probably one of the nicest anime games on the PS1 in general, and even games now that try this look barely come close. It just shows how good the art style is, even if it's on low poly modes like these. With that being said, I think it's time for the final game. Here, and this is a weird one. Katamari Damacy is such a crazy concept when you actually try to explain it to someone. Well, you see, the king, he blew up the constellations and the moon. Then he tried to act like he didn't do it. Then we fixed this by basically committing mass murder and rolling everything up to then launch it into space. He also tells me they love doing this and it's fine. As cute as this game is, my god, if you fail a level. And its aesthetics is just how much stuff is on screen. And even if said stuff is low poly, these worlds really feel lived in no matter where you roll to. The feeling as well from being able to pick things up like socks or small creatures to literal buildings, you really do feel yourself getting bigger with time. It's sad though, after the second game, the creator left and they still continued the franchise, which in turn killed it with an awful iPhone game and releasing the remake of the first game on the same day as Smash, and they barely stocked any stores with the game. This game was rare for a few weeks because of this dumb release plan. I'm also sure because of the failed release, we will never get the remake of the superior sequel, but that's just me ranting. Let's get back to the game. The levels are all a treat, especially the second game when you go underwater and even a whole school. The second game also has a 2-player mode, but it's awful to control, but needed that it's there. It's just neat I can vividly remember some of these stages and how great they are. The music in this series is one of the most interesting in any game ever. You have so many styles and variety to the point there's bound to be something for you in this. It's just insane for a game to have such shitposting music like this. To then hit you with songs like this.
Every day we're playing 二人で
Angel Rain being my favorite song because this was a song I dedicated to my kid that passed away. Again, this soundtrack is just godlike. The story as well for the second game being about our king showing his childhood and earning the respect from his strict dad and finding the love of his life isn't needed at all, but I'm so glad it's here. These games really know how to shine and make something feel like home while being as if you're getting robbed at the same time with how chaotic it can be. This is why I feel Katamari Damacy is an aesthetic that I love, and I'll cherish it forever.
Pikachu, let's play. Pikachu, dance.
I can't take it anymore.
Fill it in.
He talks to Pikachu. Pikachu listens.
Pikachu, come here.
I thought I was man's best friend.
Great job.
Meanwhile, I'm getting fat. I walk myself. Where's the love?
Hey, Pikachu, rated E for everyone. Good for you, bad for pets.
Looking for love here.
Only on N64.
Have you ever thought of an idea that once you attempt, you instantly regret that idea? Well, here's that time for me. Today, I decided to do a challenge run for a game I've never even played, but after my first playthrough of the first game, it was just fitting to do this. I wanted to pick a Pokemon I haven't seen many runs with, and at the time when this was made, there wasn't that many runs of this Pokemon, but I think now there's a few more. But that's off topic. I first was going to do a Ditto run, but Ditto is kind of overdone, and I feel there's nothing that I personally could add to make it more interesting. However, after asking a good friend of mine, we decided on a Pokemon I have only seen a few runs done at the time this was made. And that beloved Pokemon is none other than Hoppip. So, I decided to partake in probably one of the most tedious runs I've done in a while, and of course, I had to make it harder for myself by adding more rules than necessary. So I'll go over all these rules now. Rules for the run. So no TMs, no healing outside of battle or in battle with items. Berries are the exception, only in battle, and you have to have it on your Pokemon before the battle starts. This was the worst game for this rule, which I'll explain later. No battle items like X attack or any of those, but you can use like leftovers and things like that. Those are fine. No using other Pokemon except Hoppip unless I'm forced to, which I will also explain later in the video because this game does force me to use other Pokemon. Also, it counts as a death if I black out, meaning if Hoppip dies in a double battle, but the battle's still going and we win, it's fine. Hoppip can't evolve, that's a pretty given rule, and the challenge is won once the credits roll. Also, only PP ups and things like that are able to be used. No other stat boosting medical items are allowed, so I can't do like carbons or anything like that. Even though it's for EV and IB stuff, I think only PP up stuff should be allowed. Doctors are also allowed since they're not common and they're usually not in very important areas to matter about all that much. So I do allow these guys, but I barely use them anyways in the run. Those are the rules for the challenge. So I decided to make this run a little more interesting, that could have mixed reactions. Normally with these runs, I've always seen regular runs of the game, which is fine, but I wanted to make it a little more challenging. I decided to make this a randomized run, which ends up bringing its own challenge to things. Some fights become piss poor easy, while some become so aggravating, it's insane I even managed to beat this run. Before we get into how everything went, I want to explain Hoppip for those who are unaware about him. Hoppip really isn't the best when it comes to anything. Base 250 stats and best stat being special defense while speed is second really doesn't help him all that much with an HP stat of 35. Meaning most things will one-shot Hoppip. Like most grass types, he's good for stalling, and that's really about it. Even his own abilities are worthless unless you count the hidden one because he can't learn Sunny Day naturally, meaning for this run I might as well not have an ability at all. This run really won't be that easy, and I expect a lot of grinding, but that's just part of these types of really dumb challenges. With all that out of the way, it's time to explain the run and its many hurdles I went through, and how I overcome to probably one of the most tedious things I've ever done. We're so fucked. I started this run by picking up my starter, and already we face our first hurdle. Hobbit needs to be as fast for most of these battles to even win. The game decided to give me a nature that lowered my speed, but don't worry, Hobbit got a boost in defense, which is his third best stat. It really won't matter, in all honesty. Oh, this is not good. Oh, that's a really bad one. This is really bad. But I'm gonna fucking run with it. Screw it. Maybe that boost in defense will help somewhat, you know. I doubt it, but we'll see. I decided to not reset for the extra challenge, and obviously we got destroyed by a rival fight, but maybe not for the reasons you're thinking. Yes, he is using a fully evolved Pokemon, but that's not why we get destroyed horribly. You see, another issue with Hobbit are his starting moves. One of them being Synthesis, which, nice, I can easily heal if needed, while the other one being Splash, which is known as Bounce/Hop in Japan, so if you're wondering why he knows it, that's why. Hobbit has no attacking moves, by the way, till level 10. So the issue we face now is, how do I get to level 10? I thought of a few methods like searching for rare candies, but sadly none were in the area I was in. The only option I really had was to struggle and win from that. This came with a bunch of issues, and mostly it was Splash. Splash has 40 PP for its move, making it the worst to get rid of. Most of the time I would die before I even got it halfway. Even if I were to get it into the state to struggle, I can't heal outside of battles except the Pokemon Center, which would then reset my progress, and Hobbit struggling usually would kill itself before it even kills them. I had to think smart, and luckily there is still a way to level up, and I'm pretty sure this was only able to be done because of the randomizer, as far as I'm aware. I have to get basically a random Pokemon to struggle first. In the first route, I was encountering things that easily would one-shot Hobbit, making this not an easy task at all. Smoochum happened though, and I finally found a way to get experience, but this method is also very RNG based. For me to win, I have to make sure I'm fighting a Smoochum with a certain amount of health, because if I don't, I'll die way before it does. This method was my go-to method till I found a new improved method that was a lot safer. The issue being why I couldn't do this method at first was that I would reach the struggle state before they did, and that Pokemon is Plusle. Luckily for me, Plusle has no attacking moves at all at this stage and gives way more XP than Smoochum does. All I had to do was find him and then let the time wasting happen. Over time, I was finally able to get him to have the move Tackle, and now we can progress. This process took around 2 hours. After this, it was pretty smooth sailing to the gym. Most Pokemon were very underleveled compared to Hoppit, so killing a lot of them was easy for early grinding. However, one trainer gave us trouble, because he had a Lampern, which meant the only way for me to kill him was with Poison Powder. Somehow we were able to beat him without any issues, which I don't know how, but fuck it, I guess. I arrived at the first gym where he took Hoppit out back and murdered him. His first Pokemon being a Golem. Hoppit really didn't like this at all. His Golem used Rock Polish and then one-shot me easily. I had to grind to get a grass move if I was going to win, which meant getting Hoppit to level 19 for Bullet Seed. Once I got Bullet Seed, it was an easy time for this fight. His team consisted of an Onix and a Golem, so Bullet Seed made quick work. After this, the routes and stuff aren't really all that interesting. The fights usually consisted of me using the same strategy of Sleep Powder and wailing on them. Luckily for me, thanks to Leech Seed and Synthesis, healing isn't that big of an issue. Basically why I made the rule of no healing outside of battle, since Hoppit has access to a lot of healing moves. We arrived to Verbank City, and we head straight to the gym just to hit our first real roadblock for the run. one of the gym trainers has this guy. I easily get one-shotted and outsped like nothing, so time to grind. And we got to level 23, and that's when I was finally able to take him out. Oh my god. His next Pokemon is Panpour, so nothing important here. Funny enough, this was actually the hardest trainer in this whole little area. The gym leader here was a cakewalk, though. Her team consisted of Audino and Hitmontop, and I beat the fight on my first try, so there really wasn't much to talk about here. After we do some Pokestar Studio stuff, and then we fight some more Team Plasma trainers, and then we had to beat all these random trainers to progress the story, and the only real interesting thing of note was the fact that one of them had this guy. Of course he has Reshiram. Why would he not have Reshiram? Other than that, this area was an easy time, and I'm excited for what else is to come. But there really wasn't much worth talking about here. We finally arrive at Castelia City, and the sewers are a breeze thanks to our forced double battles. I do like that Jumpluff is in the sewers, because it's such a shit Pokemon. After the sewers, it's time for our second gym battle, and our first gym trainer we fight ends up killing me thanks to his Executor, lowering my health, and then his Conkeldurr killing me after my Sleep Powder missed. My second match, though, with him was a lot easier than the first, and I ended up winning. Hobbit also learned his only good flying move, Acrobatics. It's a really good move to have, thanks to his power doubling if Hobbit doesn't have a held item. I decided to replace Mega Drain with this, because I was confident the other healing moves could cover the slack. This did sorta come back to bite me later. Our next opponent was another gym trainer, this time with a Gyarados who easily two-shotted me with Thrash. Again, like before, the second fight was quick work, thank God. The other gym trainers were no issue at all, and in no time we arrived at the gym leader. I also forgot to mention, the trainer names and all that are randomized as well, so that's why his name is Rachel. So, there you go. His first Pokemon he leads off with is a Quillfish who uses Minimize, which is a move I dread to see. Which, to add more to my pain, he uses Rollout, not giving Hoppit a good time at all. Thanks to Hoppit having Sleep Powder, he pulls through, making my worries go away. Just as I'm about to faint his Quillfish, he uses a Hyper Potion, which isn't good at all, since I realized I'm running low on PP for my only attacking move, and he easily outspeeds me and can deal massive damage if not stopped. Quillfish then wakes up as I get hit with another Rollout, and miss my Acrobatics move, making my PP even lower than before. If more luck couldn't be bad, I missed my Sleep Powder and get hit with another Rollout, this time taking more damage than before, and as all hope is lost, I get hit with the final Rollout and die. Our second fight sadly goes the same way as before, where I miss more times than I can count and get killed by Rollout. Here I am wishing I kept Mega Drain. For my third attempt though, I decided to just go all out with attacking because the more time I wasted, the less time I had was surviving Rollout. And somehow this strat worked. But as if the game hated me, his next Pokemon is an Onix. I again wish I had a Grass move instead of Acrobatics. But by being persistent, I was able to stall Onix even after he used a Hyper Potion. And as if the gods had forgiven me and wanted me to just feel rewarded, I was given a Tropius as his last Pokemon with Flying move. It was an easy one-hit KO. Yeah. That's insane. His first two Pokemon were hard as fuck, but his last one was easy. That's crazy. Overall, one of the hardest areas so far, but I'm sure I will keep progressing easily. As we reach Route 4, I'm basically able to one-shot everything as I'm level 30. Also, the first trainer has a legendary, so that's nice. We finally come to a story fight for the route and get hit with probably one of the scariest dragon types for early game. Really? What the fuck? Why does he have that thing? Hoppet stalls him out, and I was able to take out his first Pokemon, but his second Pokemon got me low enough for me to die to Sandstorm. My second attempt was smoother with his first Pokemon, but like before, I was taken out by his second one. First time the charm? No, still the same outcome as before. My fourth attempt, I really thought I was going to lose to his Vigoroth because it knew Encore and set me up with Leech Seed, but somehow I managed to pull the win. After that, some more trainer fights and shenanigans happened as I finally found myself at the Battle Subway where we had our double battle with the male protagonist of the game. The fight was easy, and after we decided to head straight to the gym just to realize she wasn't there. We however got some extra XP for the trainer fight, so it was at least somewhat worth doing this. I talked to the guy in front of the Ferris wheel just to be sent into battle and die because I was low on health from the other trainer fights. We ended up heading out to the ruins just for me to die again to a Luxio. After that, I decided to not go there, and we did find Bianca and do a little side quest with her, and then I find a trainer who has a Meloetta, and then it kills me. I then do a bunch of little stuff and pick up a few items, as I then encounter another trainer with a Cloyster. She also kills me. Finally, what felt like forever, we arrived at the next gym battle, which I instantly get destroyed as soon as I step inside. I then attempted it just to realize he had the ability Shed Skin, so I just died a second time. My third fight goes better, but as if my luck can't get worse, the next trainer pulls out a Frostlass, and somehow though I beat it on my first try. Third trainer was the easiest. She also had a jump bluff, which I thought was really cool. Finally, gym time. I was pretty confident about winning this first try. For whatever reason, I ended up taking out her Banette just to have my dreams crushed again by a Magmar with Fire Punch. My second fight, of course, ended the same way as the first one, so that's when I knew I would have to grind. I decided for grinding, I would grind by fighting the trainers I was stuck on. I don't know why I did this, but it's what I did. I then got to level 38 and decided to try again. For my luck to change, he led with Confuse Ray instead of Fire Punch. When I saw this, I thought I was going to win. I, however, didn't kill him in one shot, and then I was hit with Fire Punch like old times. I decided to test my luck and see if he would keep using Confuse Ray as his first attack, which he did, but then my Sleep Powder missed and resulted in another death. Or so I thought. Hoppet lives at just 3 HP, meaning that defense boost came in handy. I finally have a chance. I just have to not hit myself and go for the win. And Hoppet misses Sleep Powder again. This time, I will go for the Oranberry approach to maybe help my ability to survive, just again for Hoppet to miss and basically waste the berry. Again, I got another death as I try to rematch him. Same thing again for the next rematch. Hoppet just keeps missing every time, which is why I'm just stuck here, because I could win if I stopped missing. The next battle, Hoppet decides to not miss his Sleep Powder, giving me the chance to actually do something with this next fight. With all luck on my side, I didn't get the burn from her Magmar Flame Body, and it's like the gods embraced me to make it through. Then, this happened. And I didn't get burned! I did! Another fire type. Woo! Another fire type! Fucking Jesus! Okay, I'm faster than him though, thank God. I didn't want to give up, and with proper use of Synthesis and Leech Seed, plus the obvious Sleep Powder method, we were able to pull through for the win. 3 badges down, 5 more to go. After this, it was kind of boring as no trainers in the routes were really an issue since I was quite over-leveled at this point. We did fight an Arceus in the grass, so that was cool. So here's where we're gonna have to probably break the rules, because we come to our first roadblock for the run. A triple battle stands in our path that I can't do with Hoppet alone. I do have an idea for a workaround, so I decided to head off with my HM Slate plus 2 Smoochums that are very underleveled. My idea is to hopefully have the two Smoochums die while I spam a non-attacking move in case they don't die right away, leaving Hoppin to take out the 3 Pokemon at once. Does this sound terrible? Yes, but that's just the Hoppin challenge. Also, the 3 Pokemon fighting are Blastoise, Swellow, and Druddigon? I don't know this fucker's name. Does anyone even like this fucking guy? Who likes this man? Who actually likes this fucking... whatever. So, would you be surprised, this battle didn't even take that long, around 5 tries. We do some Team Plasma stuff, win because of our level, and after that, we make our way to the next gym. I did end up dying to the ice cream cone, but for the most part, the trainers here were manageable. Now is the gym leader battle, and I died to his Zoroark, not a good start to this gym. Our second rematch, I beat his Zoroark just to die at the end with his next Pokemon. Same for the next match, again and again. This battle though, I do win but almost die, giving me my 4th badge.
And dude, oh my god, fucking gamer. That was insane. I didn't think I was gonna win that. I thought he was gonna get lucky and get me with like more than 2, but he didn't, so.
After that, I wander around fighting some stuff, and then I head over to the tournament thing with Clay and my rival. My rival being super annoying because he has a Blissey with Minimize, but we still win with Hoppin being the OG gamer that we are. Charon is next, and he ends up being one of the easier fights until this happens.
Wow, he woke up. Oh god. Alright, I gotta let them die. That's basically all I can do. I have to let them die. No! Dude, alright. Should I reset? Does that count as a reset? Because he attacked and I don't want him to attack. So does that count as a reset? No. But he attacked though. Not worth the time, but again, I'm gonna make a YouTube video on this, and I already know someone's gonna say that I fucking didn't do the challenge because he attacked. But they're gonna say that he attacked, and that wasn't Hoppin. They're gonna give me shit for it. Because I have to use these guys, like I have no other option, I have to use them. Because the game is forcing me to use them. But, like, is someone gonna say, if you want, I'm gonna reset, yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna reset. Yeah, I'll reset. Because I thought he would kill me before, you know, that. So what I'm gonna do then is give them a non-attacking move. But I have to use them, there's no option.
So I redid the matches, and then I got back to him, and it was probably one of the most easiest victories. Holrest is also next, and he felt easier than Charon, bringing an easy win under my belt. We boarded Team Plasma's boat, and as soon as we arrived, we were done. I've noticed now a lot of Pokemon can be killed easily, but same still applies to Hoppin. Charged Stone Cave is next, but nothing really important to talk about besides the fact this is probably one of my favorite caves in the whole series, though it was a very uneventful time here. Now it's time for Skyla. I was lucky enough to skip most of the gym trainers except one who easily was defeated. As for Skyla, she came close to beating me, but I ended up winning my first try, feeling like one of the easiest gyms so far. Now time for more routes, which we do die to a Rhyperior, which sucks, but it is what it is. Now we're at Celestial Tower, which is a really impressive area and has some great music to boot. Juniper flies with us to a new town, and then we kind of mess around fighting trainers. Now we're at a fire cave, and Bianca's here, which is a pretty slow area with nothing going on, but I love these new cave designs. Just my luck, as if I'm in Gen 2, a milk tank with a rollout takes me out back and kneecaps me. We soon arrive in Undella Town, and as I feel very confident about this run so far, after all the hurdles we faced. Our rival battles us here, and we lose the first match thanks to his Mantine with Air Slash. Second try goes well, and we pull the win. We then run into Cobalion, who serves Hoppin his pizza and then refuses to elaborate and just leaves. We also run into another trainer with a pretty scary team, who also serves me my pasta and then just leaves. Now at the next town, we meet up with the professor and Bianca and do some things that are probably important. After that nonsense, we fight 2 Team Plasma members with a rival battle, which we lose 5 times, but 6 times a charm. Even if Hoppin dies, our rival helps us pull through. We then find ourselves at a bridge with a guy who has a 999 win streak. He now has to start all over thanks to our pal Hobbit. We wander around the region, and I still keep dying to random trainer fights, showing that Hobbit, even after beating that guy, is still a bad Pokemon. After that, out of nowhere, we run into another legendary fight, which Hobbit decides murder is the plan and takes her out. We then do some trainer grinding as we get ready for the 7th gym. After a while, we decide to fight him, and here's how it all went. The first trainer fight was easy, but the second one we were forced to do a rotation battle. Somehow I managed to pull through and made sure the Smoochos just spammed work up till we won, since I don't want them attacking at all. We arrive to the gym leader, and he leads with Bidoof, and after he one-shots me with Pinsir by taking Hobbit to a buffet, but the buffet is full of thrash and no ass. Second fight, however, is a breeze, and this might have been one of the easiest battles for me so far. Team Plasma decides now the only way to beat Hobbit is a giant ice cannon, and they start to freeze the whole world. We go around fighting a bunch of the grunts so I can fight the old man who kills me with his Corsola. Great, a bad Pokemon dies to another equally bad Pokemon. The second fight goes way better, and we take him back to the retirement home he came out. Now, this in my opinion is the top 3 hardest fights in the whole run. I had to level up 14 times to even stand a chance in this fight. It's like his whole team was designed to make a Hobbit run impossible. Instead of saying each fight or whatever play-by-play, I'll just say why this fight was hard. He has 3 Pokemon, his first one being Unfezant, with moves to lower my attack harshly, moves to hit me and make me flinch, and Taunt, making where I can only use attacking moves. His next Pokemon being Kyogre with Ice Beam and Muddy Water, and I don't know the other moves because he never used those. He just mostly spam shot, Ice Beam, and would kill me every time. He was hard because I couldn't outspeed him, and I would die in just one hit no matter what. His third is a Gallade, which I killed in one shot, so he's a I had to get to level 70 before I could even start trying to outspeed him, which the process took around 3 to 4 hours. If my attack was lowered or I was hit with Taunt before Kyogre came out, it was an instant loss. When I was finally able to outspeed Kyogre, I decided to go for an attack since my attack also wasn't lowered this time, just to see what happens, as I ended up getting a one-hit KO on him, leaving only his Gallade to take the final hit, bringing me the victory. Oh my fucking god, what the fuck? Holy shit! After that's all said and done, we make our way to Seaside Cave to see our first trainer with a Mew. The rest of his team was easy to beat though, and we continued forward. I fought a doctor and beat him easily to heal. I didn't let myself die to the next trainer because I forgot I healed, and I thought I had no attacking moves. We make it to the next city and find the gym leader, and he tells us to meet him at his gym. As for the trainer fights, we skipped the majority of them, with the ones we did fight being easy. The gym leader himself I really thought was going to be a cakewalk, as his team was easily beatable by Hobbit just to be thrashed by a Totodile and killed.
Never mind, I spoke too soon. I spoke too soon. Oh god, man. Alright, I'm gonna spend Feather Dance till he kills me.
While trying to get back to the gym leader, I encountered one of the other gym trainers just to die to his Heatran and low honey combo. The rematch finally ended fast as we got our 8th gym badge, meaning we are now ready to do endgame stuff.
Alright. We are officially done with the gyms. Okay, goodbye, dude. Well, I never thought I would get you this far. I really thought this run was gonna die at the very start.
And honestly, I was really surprised I even got this far, as I started having doubts very early into the run of this even being beatable, but here we are. We meet Kolres and then fight Terrakion, beating him easily. We find our rival and hop onto Team Plasma's boat for the second time. Our first Plasma Grunt was easy, as the next double battles is even easier, even though Hoppet almost dies. We take out the third Grunt and beat Historaptor. This continues with most of the fights after even someone who has a Reshiram. I just take him out very easily. We decided to leave though to get Hoppet another attacking move from the Relearner girl. We get rid of Synthesis for Giga Drain. After getting the card, we do the password and head up to the teleporter. We then are forced into another double battle that ends up being pretty easy even with some of the Pokemon they have. Team Plasma filled with anger flies off on their boat, with us being forced off. We then are told to head to Route 22, which I then make my way to. I finally arrived to Route 22 and made it through the cape just for me to fight a Suicune, which was really scary if he was faster, but I pulled the Sleep Powder off and won the fight. His next Pokemon was a Breeze, even though it was a Fire type. We ended up making our way onto the ship, as I then faced my first double battle on the ship. I had an HM Slave with me, and the issue being is he sadly doesn't die in one hit, and if I used him to do anything, he either will attack or lower their attack, which isn't fair. I decided to just take HM Slave out myself instead of making HM Slave lower my attack. I had to waste a turn, but I feel that was fair. Luckily for me, everything was smooth sailing until that dreaded name was on screen. Kyogre. In my fear, I ended up realizing I still outsped him, making this fight really easy. The last Pokemon was Torchic, which was taken out one hit. The rest of the ship was easy, as most grunts had either really bad Pokemon or Pokemon that I could easily take out. I was surprised since everything else was hard, but I guess the rando gods decided to give me an easier time. Out of nowhere, the old guy shows up and gets destroyed really fast. I am facing an issue with PP usage, so I may either just have to die or leave. I decided instead of fighting Kolres, I would just go back and heal and come back after. I healed and then prepared for the fight, which I was greeted with some of my favorite battle music in this whole game. He had some of my favorite battle music in this game. It's really good. Easy. Kolres had to be one of the easiest fights since all he had was water types, giving me almost full heals even if I took any damage at all. Only fear was his Blastoise since he didn't die in one hit, but then he used Iron Defense, so I was given a free kill. With his last two Pokemon being Duskull and Arbok, but they were no match for the legendary Hoppet. After that, we had to fight one of the Shadow Triad members, and at first I thought it would be an easy fight considering he had a Dunsparce and a Dratini, till he pulled out Salamence. I got a little scared, but with my Hoppet, we took down Salamence with no real issue. The second Triad member had a Cintran who easily was taken out, but his Glaceon was an issue. His Glaceon hits me with a Crit Blizzard, meaning now Hoppet is easily locked in the freezer and forgotten. The rematch went a lot better, taking out both Pokemon without any real issue. Her last being Apom, but Hoppet being at the level he's at made monkey meat out of him. We now arrive at the legendary battle where we witness Yu-Gi-Oh cards make a monster. This is actually a really badass scene. I cannot wait for when these games get remade, dude. I cannot wait. I'm so excited for them to be remade. The problem with this is probably the hardest Pokemon I can fight. It is a ice. I think it's an ice fire type or a fire. Yeah, it's an ice fire type, I think. And that is, each of its moves can be 4 times weakness against me. So I have to make sure this fucker just never attacks, or I will die. White Kyurem, who outspeeds me. As if Hoppet was pissing himself, he decided to do a spaghetti powder on his non-existent knees, and we miss and get burned to a crisp. Hoppet now being nothing but meat on a kebab. Our rematch was way better, with Hoppet actually hitting Sleep Powder, and then doing lead seed. I was scared as my damage wasn't that much, and I then see he wakes up, but doesn't do an attacking move, giving me the win as if Reshiram heard the words of just an RPG and gave us a chance to attack. Getsis is next, and I really think this is the top 10 easiest fights for the run. He used basically nothing but water types, only scary Pokemon for me was Togekins. The rest either died easily or died to Giga Drain. After I won, hearing that sweet piano music play made me realize I finally made it this far. Only now is the end goal. The thing me and Pepsi Jr. wanted to achieve, being the champion with the Pokemon everyone doubted, everyone said is worthless, everyone but me. Unless you ignore the times I said he sucked. Route 23 was kind of hard. I ended up beating the first trainer on the route just to die to the next because of Blizzard. I just decided to ignore her and go through the gate. The badge scanners checked and saw I had the badges as proof as the doors opened for me. I finally was ready to go. Ready to become champion. All that stopped me now was Victory Road. As I arrived at the first trainer, I'm filled with excitement seeing her first Pokemon be Weedle. I knew I had this in the bag until... We have to grind. We are officially stuck now. We have to grind. After so long of a journey, after so many challenges, after coming so close, I was forced to grind again. I felt my heart sink as I didn't want to give up for tonight. Then I remembered a girl who gives you the quick claw. I know this isn't the biggest game changer, but it turned my chances of having to grind to not grinding. I went and got the quick claw as I then attempted the fight many more times, having moments where it either worked on Weedle or worked on a Rapidash, but Rapidash then woke up after being asleep, or just didn't work at all, until my last fight. I got a quick claw and then sleep powder. I was still scared since Rapidash has been waking up easily, but for my last hit, I get another quick claw for the win. I pulled through without any need for grinding. Oh my god, thank the fucking Lord, quick claw! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh, quick claw! Holy shit, bro! I did not expect that. That's fucking crazy. The next required fight is with this girl who I really thought would be easy, but then I died thanks to him knowing Sturdy. We then rematched her as I took out her 3 Pokemon, making it a very easy fight, as long as I don't get hit. The next trainer is another walk in the park with almost nothing they can really do to hop it at this level. I win and move on. The final stretch and the final rival fight is here. Do it! Please have a shit team. Please have a shit team, bro. Suicune, oh my god, no! Boy, bro, no, dude! It's over. It's fucking over. Please outspeed him. No. Are you fucking kidding me, dude? Oh my god. Yep, and we're back to being stuck again. We are back to being stuck again. Please work.
I survived though. Okay, that works for me. That works for me. But you know what sucks now? I'm not gonna do as much damage, so that really sucks. Why am Giga Drain? As long as he doesn't wake up for these 2 turns, we're fine. Alright, we're fine. Okay. Wow, this was not as bad as I thought it was gonna be then. This was not as bad. I didn't even need Quick Claw. I kind of fucked myself by equipping it, I guess. And his next Pokemon being Regice, which I may be faster, but it's still scary because of my 4x weakness. Hoppin deals with him pretty well, though, securing me the win. His last Pokemon gets taken out as well without any real issue, giving me the win, and now I can finally take my first steps into the Pokemon Champion League. Alright, well, I don't have much to say about this run, so other than that, like, there's no special things I can say. Let's just fucking do it. I don't want to go in yet, holy shit, that would have been really bad. I almost just made it where I would have been fucked. I want to heal first, put HM Slave away, and then we go in. Alright. We have 5 trainers we have to beat, and I have to hope these trainers don't have good Pokemon. And if they do, we're fucked. So, now we're finally at the end game. I want to do the exclamation thing a little differently. To get this out of the way, the Elite Four took me 4 hours, even after I won. I'm still surprised I won. One of the members ends up being the hardest fight in the game, only because of RNG. I won't cover all the losing matches since there were many. I will, however, cover what I had to do to manage the win here with each trainer. This is also the only place I used for PP ups. Without these, I really don't think this run could have been beaten, but since PP ups don't boost my stats in any way, I allowed them. I also want to add that technically 3 of the 4 fights were more RNG based until I changed my moves up and leveled up. With that out of the way too, it's time to tell you about my Elite Four battles. The route I did was as follows, since if I did any other route, I was running the risk of wasting time. First match was the hardest match in the game. Our first Pokemon might as well be a throwaway since when Giga Drain destroys it, however, he's there to get you into a false sense of security. The real menace comes next. The hardest one to deal with is Victini. The issue here is since I can't heal outside of battle, it makes his move Inferno a straight run killer. Even with 50% accuracy, this move hit me almost every single time. Even if I managed to kill him, I still died to the burn. It legit didn't matter what I did. I even at one point went in with a Ross Berry for the issue just to be killed right away, wasting my berry in the process as well. I had to keep him asleep for around 4 turns unless I got a crit. This was so hard because he would usually wake up before that. He also equipped with a citrus berry, healing most of my damage I did in the first place, making this process even longer. I even tried the Quick Claw method but found that useless since the RNG is so great, adding more RNG didn't change much, and it was making my move acrobatics useless in doing so. I ended up putting Victini to sleep and started to wail on him as much as I could. I was about to get to the final blow until I realized he woke up. I prayed to God he would miss because I already had played for so long just again to die to him. And as if the gods again had gotten bored of my suffering, he missed his Inferno and was left wide open as I hit him one last time, taking him out. I want to mention I've beaten this trainer before, but again, as stated earlier, 2 others were basically RNG until I figured out methods to deal with them. After that, her other Pokemon were easily beatable. 1 Elite Four down, 3 to go. The next fight was hard till I leveled up enough. His first Pokemon is Dratini with Dragon Dance, but Hoppin being built differently just takes him out. Same for Vanillite and Cubone. The RNG before was his Ninetales being able to outspeed me. I would have to hope she went for a Safeguard and a Confuse Ray for me to take the win. If she didn't do these 2 things, or if my Sleep Powder missed, I would just burn to death by her fire attacks. Luckily, being so high in level, it made it where I could force her to death, giving me the win. 2 down, 2 to go. This was the other RNG fight that luckily a simple move change fixed instantly. Her first Pokemon Gardevoir was easy to take out, followed by her Rhyhorn, who would die in 1 hit at the level I'm at. But her RNG Pokemon is next, which is Nidshot.
This Pokemon isn't actually hard to kill. Killing it is actually the easiest part. It's more the moves it knows could paralyze me or put me low enough to die to our next Pokemon. This move being Bounce, a move Hoppin can also learn naturally. I ended up realizing that I would, no matter what, be able to outspeed this Pokemon, and Bounce would usually just end my run. I decided to fight Fire with Fire, or Bounce with Bounce. You see, the biggest issue with Fly or Bounce or Dig are if you're the slowest and you have the move as well and use the move the same turn, they're taking the free hit. I was obviously slower, so by using Bounce right after, it was always guaranteed for me to have a free hit and killing Ninja instantly. The reason why I wouldn't be able to survive her next Pokemon was it being Gibite, who easily could kill me at low health range. I outspeed him now, though, making it easier to manage, giving me the win after taking him out. 3 down, 1 more to go. This fight has to be the easiest fight out of all of them. Mostly his team is destroyed by any grass move. His team consists of Vespa Quinn, her ability Pressure brought more issue in a run, her PP mattered a lot. A single bounce or acrobatics took her out. Caro Costa, which Giga Drain dominates here. Cordilli, which is a little bit of an issue, but only if I don't kill him fast. The last Pokemon being Mudkip, again, why I said this is one of the easiest fights out of them all. 4 down, only 1 remains. Now, the champion isn't that hard, but the issue more comes from the lack of PP in her starting Pokemon. PP usage, like I said, is a big issue in the Elite Four Challenge. If you don't manage it well, you will lose no matter what to the champion. Out of the whole 4 hours I fought the Elite Four for, I got to her 3 times. I lost a lot because of me running out of moves. Being at this level though, which is 98, does help a lot with not dying, but the move issue is still a thing. That's why the PP ups had to be used here. But her first Pokemon is Skarmory, which is why it's a big issue to fight. So the problem with Skarmory is none of my attacking moves do all that much damage, and she has a move to make her faster and to outspeed me. Meaning that I have to keep him asleep or he will spam Air Slash, and that will also make me flinch in return. This is easier said than done, but I somehow managed to pull through. I get the next one off, and I'm finally able to take her Skarmory out. Her next Pokemon is Pikachu, which dies in 1 hit. The next Pokemon is Relicanth, ends up being an easy free heal for me, even with the Focus Sash. He doesn't hit hard, but he does kill himself with Recoil, which is funny. Gastrodon is next, which scares me, but I forgot he's water ground and kill him with Giga Drain. The Tangrowth is another easy fight as he dies in 1 hit. Her last Pokemon is Darkrai. I was scared, but Sun Powder puts him to sleep, and as I watch his health bar deplete one last time, I realized I'm finally the champion. Oh my fucking god. Can I put Darkrai to sleep? I need to know that. Can I put him to sleep or no? I need to know this, dude. Can I put Darkrai to sleep? For the love of God, I need to know this. Okay. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. Oh my. Oh shit, man. Oh my god. I'm losing my fucking mind here. Is this it? Did I beat the Hobby Run? Yes! Yes! Oh my god! Let's fucking go! Fuck, oh my god, I did it! Oh my fucking god! It's over, boys. It's fucking over, boys. I thank God for giving me a huge cock to do this. I could have done this with a small cock. Need at least a 7.5 incher. Only way to do it, baby. Only way to do it, baby. What? I got so fucking scared when I saw Darkrai. Because I was like, if I can't put Darkrai to sleep, bro, I feel like he'll kick the shit out of me. Oh my god. Hobbit finally showed his true worth. We finally just made history, being the best Hobbit he could be. As one last thing I owe for Hobbit, I decided it's time to release him. Since he's been through hell and served his purpose, I gave him 2 rare candies to fully evolve him, and then I proceeded to let him go. He doesn't need to fight anyone. All he needs to do now is be himself. Go off and journey the world, because your work here at Pepsi Jr. is done. That being said, I want to thank you all for watching the video, and I really want to give a thank you to Hobbit. Thank you, Pepsi Jr., for all the hard work you did. And thank you for making me